Well,
Shall we begin, Omar?
sure.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is a very unique episode where I'm in my childhood backyard with the new homeowner, Omar,
Hi.
who got my home about 3 years ago. And we've met once before when I had my computer monitor delivered here by accident.
Yep.
And you showed me around, and I loved it, and that was really cool. That was 2 years ago already. And we talked about this for a bit, and now we're finally doing it.
Yeah.
And for me, it perfectly aligns because in September 2005, and now it's September 2025, 20 years later, is when I built that old clubhouse with that fireplaces that you see right there.
Yep.
The old clubhouse I built that started my whole life and created a very unique thing here on this property. And I'm still doing it and talking about it and wearing it 20 years later. So, but we're not just going to talk about that. We're going to talk more about
that's cool.
you and your life. But that's just an interesting full circle moment for me.
Yeah, and that was the mystery fireplace, I call it, because it was I like for people listening, like I when we bought the place and we started to come in, I was like, what was that? It was just everyone had a theory, like like I'd ask somebody like, what did you think they did with that? Like, what do you think that was? And everyone had a theory, right? It's like, well, maybe they used it as like a pizza oven or a bread oven or some makeshift something, and no one could figure it out. And honestly, I would have never guessed because of the way it looks now, that there was like an entire cabin kind of structure around it and it was inside something. Mm-hmm. Never would have crossed my mind until you told me. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the, there are a few other like anomalous things where we're like I thought for the longest time that up there until you told me on that tree house, I thought that was a deer stand. And
Really?
maybe long ago it was lower and the tree grew up and it just kept getting higher and higher because someone told me that way out here back before they built all this place out, there were fields and people could, back then, maybe in the 60s, people could shoot a deer and no one would care.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, maybe it was a tree stand or maybe, you know what I mean? Because I come from Iowa where that's a normal thing. So
that is so funny to think about. All the different weird things that happen on this land would be really confusing to anyone who buys it because it was all strange stuff that we did. If you see like weird patches of growth of grass, lots of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the platform, my grandfather planted that tree.
Oh,
That's
really?
a cottonwood tree he planted in the 50s. He bought this place in 1951, I believe. And it was just the part of the house where it ends by, it was just the front room. And it has that arch right there. That was a back door. And the staircase wasn't there. The stairs were in the front closet where the power or, electrical power breaker is. And it was just like a small attic, and that's it. And he built everything else out. This was all prairie. You're right. It was all flat land and prairie, not a lot of trees. And people did whatever they wanted. My mom's stories with her brothers back here were absurd. Inspired me to do some wild things, too.
Yeah.
It was different back then. Very different. And the platform, that was built in 2009. I put that platform up in the tree in April 2009. The smaller one underneath the big one was 2006. So, all this stuff was when I was a teenager in the 2000s. I'm not too sure how old you are, but...
I'm 39, almost 39.
Okay, I'm 35.
So...
So, you're about the same age as my sister, so we would have had a similar situation.
Yeah. I'd say growing up, similar circumstances, like...
Yeah.
Neighborhood kids played outside still.
Oh, yeah.
No one was on the games much. You had Sega Genesis and
I had Sega Genesis, yeah.
But that was different. It wasn't like you were all day, every day.
It wasn't good enough to be that addictive.
Yeah, it wasn't good enough. That's a good way of putting it.
It really
wasn't, no.
Yeah.
And you played outside. The prospect of playing with your friends outside and exploring something new was way higher than the prospect of another round of Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could get on your bikes and, even I grew up in Iowa, like I mentioned earlier, but
what part of Iowa?
In Ames, Iowa. So like Iowa State University, for those who know Hawkeyes versus Cyclones. So
how far is that from Iowa City?
It's about 2 hours west and then a half an hour north.
Okay.
So you go 2 hours west gets you to Des Moines, and then from there you go about a half an hour north and you get Ames, like dead center of the state.
Okay.
So, I was actually just there like a few weeks ago visiting my dad, and I took the kids on like a bike ride through like my old places where I went when I was a kid, university life where I studied, things like that. They got a kick out of it. And we did like a bike tour. We had 3 bikes. I had 3 boys. And so the littlest one I put on the bar right in front of me with like a bunch of pillows to pat his crotch a little bit. And he just sat right on there and took him on a tour of the whole town. And so they got to see they're like, wait a minute, you could just ride around with like 20 of your friends on bikes and go to the arcade and then go grab something to eat and then go do, and I'm like, yeah, like it was It was that safe. The town was that safe. It was that, traffic wasn't that bad at all. You know, by a certain age, you know how to manage that. And so everyone was trusted just to, not do something super stupid and enjoy yourself. And that's so it was a great place to grow up. But similar, like the way you described growing up here, it's crazy to think like even in Chicagoland right now, I don't know, at least for me coming from Iowa, I still have this feeling like Chicago's a bit intimidating, or like I got to watch the kids a little bit more than what I would do in Iowa. So like I wouldn't let the kids necessarily go like really far by themselves and just hang out for a long period of time in this area even until they're getting older where it's different. But when they were younger, I was like, still kind of not trusting of the environment yet. But now that I'm starting to really get accustomed to it, I think you realize that like, okay, anything could happen. Someone could get kidnapped at any time, any place, but the chances of it happening relative to like sheltering them too much and restricting their freedom and everything is just, you got to be balanced, right?
A balance.
You got to be reasonable. So
yeah, and honesty with them, like communicating with them,
right?
Letting them know like if something weird happens, you won't be in trouble. Just tell me.
Yeah.
Watch each other's back. Go out in groups of people.
Right.
Stay off the street. Like also with phones, I'm not a parent, but with phones and the cameras and the Nest cams everywhere, it's kind of
it's different.
There's a lot of surveillance.
There is
a lot.
Yeah.
And which is weird that kids don't go out as much, but there's actually more safety for them.
Right.
Right. How did that happen?
It's just
how did we trick ourselves?
It's addictive, man.
Yeah. Just be like, well, we have a lot of protection now, but don't go outside. Be safe. I don't know. I always hear that when you let your kids onto the phone, you're letting them into the world rather than the physical world.
Right.
Because the world is connected to you through the phone, and that's where a lot of strange people have gone to.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a great neighborhood. I've never had issues here my whole life. It was obviously different in the 90s and 2000s. We went out all over the place. No phones, no anything.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty good neighborhood, pretty open compared to where I live in Chicago, in Bridgeport, where you can't just be like roaming around the streets without worrying about like a car hitting you.
Right.
It's not as bad around here. Although, do cars still fly down this street?
They do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I've upset a lot of people, not me flying, but them flying down the street, me yelling or kind of getting in front of their car. It's a bad 2-block stretch with that hill gives you like a blind spot.
I worry about that all the time. Even when I jog, even if it's not nighttime, I always like, if I'm crossing the street, I always take like a double take to see, make sure someone's not coming over the hill and you don't have visibility or they don't see you. And but overall, I mean, it's a great, I couldn't have dreamed of finding a better home in a neighborhood, honestly, Ben. Like, a couple things to say, because we were talking about the house. I want to go back to that.
Yeah.
One, so people might not realize, I'm going to go into a little bit about myself here.
Sure.
So we're Muslim, and for a lot of Muslims, buying a home is a big challenge in the United States because a lot of Muslims don't deal with interest. So we can't do an interest-based loan at all, zero. So you either have to have cash or you have to have a very wealthy financier, father or cousin or uncle or someone who's willing to be like, I'll lend you.
Can you elaborate on
$300,000 or $200,000?
What do you mean by don't do interest? Can you elaborate?
So you can't basically get involved in any kind of contracts or agreements that are interest-based. Usury is what it would be in Christian terminology.
So this is part of the religious
Part
faith?
of the religious, yeah.
Okay.
So principle of the faith.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like people know like Muslims don't eat pork or like stuff like that.
Sure.
But a lot of people don't know that like if you're really adherent, you don't also engage in any kind of like interest-based lending or borrowing. And so that was the big challenge for me. So I was, in my 20s, late 20s, all my friends that I, went to school with, high school with, college with, they'd all gone on and immediately, once they get into the workforce, go buy a home, go to the bank, get a loan. And so for us, it was like me and my wife spent our 20s just grinding, working, saving, living in apartments. 30s, same thing. And then the economy, you're like at that stage when you're like that price sensitive and you're so cash dependent, every little change in the economy you're watching, like crossing your fingers going, please don't make house prices go up. Please don't make house prices go up. And they just kept going up for like in our early 30s. I'm like, what is going on with inflation here, guys? Come on, you're killing me. And so finally, when we were, that was like about 3 years ago, like about 35, 36, we finally saved up enough to be able to buy a house without having to go to a bank.
Wow.
And so that was it took a lot of sacrifice, a lot of nickeling and diming when, you can afford to do certain things, but you're like, I'm going to live way below my means in order to be able to save the money to buy a house without having to go to the bank.
Yeah.
And so we did that for a very long time. And then finally, from, you know, all these apartments, you go from like an Iowa apartment, like, what do you call them? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here.
Apartment complexes?
Landlords.
Yeah,
That's the word. Yeah. So landlords are like friendly. They're like, overall, you know, you don't cause any problems. They love you. You're paying the rent. You're reliable. Here, we experienced something a little bit different in like Oak Lawn and Bridgeview. There'd be apartments. Everything's fine. We're doing great. We didn't, you know, I've never been late on rent my whole life. And then all of a sudden, you'll find the landlord's like, I'm just going to raise the price like unreasonably. And I think it's like a move to like get you out. Or they try to like clear the entire building. Sometimes we'd expect where everyone's leaving because they're being ridiculous with the rent price. And then they'll refill it with kind of fresh blood, I call it, where they want to, I don't know if they're trying to gouge people or if truly they keep saying taxes keep going up, which I get in Illinois. And so, man, we got sick of that. And especially having 3 kids, you're a renter in an apartment. And so finally, when we found this place, what happened was we were looking on Zillow for, you know, a long time, searching for a place that would work for us budget-wise and had the things we wanted it to have. I always wanted a fixer-upper because I knew price-wise we're not going to move into like a $500,000 house and pay cash for it. Mm-hmm. So suddenly my wife found this on Zillow, and then she goes, hey, she sent me a message like, we need to go look at this place. Because she's big on visual, like she saw the trees, and she was like, we need to go look at this place. And so I got off work one day, zipped over here, and honestly, Ben, the minute we pulled into the driveway, as far as the kind of places we were looking for, like my parents were fixer-upper people. They bought a first property. When you walked into it, you knew it needed some work. It had some years on it.
Yeah.
But you knew there was a lot of potential in terms of the space you've got, the overall structure, et cetera. And then you can kind of tweak what you want to update. And so I knew there was a lot of value in doing that as far as space and also equity, right? Like over time, you can add value rather than just getting yourself into a huge debt and then being kind of house poor. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you know what? The minute I pulled up, I saw the huge trees out front, saw the huge trees in the backyard, and then we saw the space. It's like, man, I've got the freedom, like as if I was living in Iowa, but I'm like 5 minutes away from 294.
Yep.
I got all the nice restaurants. All, this whole area is really like built up in terms of like Middle Eastern food and culture.
Great area.
Great area. Mm-hmm. So I was like, man, this is amazing. So we start peering through the windows, looking at different things from like outside. Couldn't wait to get my hands on a key to get inside with a realtor. Finally did. And so our minds just started working on like, okay, so if we want to make this ours, how do we do this? What does it look like? What do we have to knock anything down? Do we not? All that. And so it kicked off from there. But it was honestly, it's like that. You just walk in and you're like, this is gonna be my first home. Like you just knew it.
Love it first
sight.
So
yeah,
eureka moment.
It was.
I'm glad that happened. I was hoping whoever got it resonated with them and they appreciated the space, the yard. A fixer-upper to make it their own, So it went to the right people.
No,
and with kids, I was like, I hope kids move here because this is one of the coolest areas, yards for kids in 15, 20 miles in any direction. You don't get 8 lots of 1 acre land in a suburban area this close to Chicago. You would have a long time ago, but not anymore. So it's an anomaly, and everyone is always confused when they come here. Back in the day when I lived here, they're just like, wait, this is Hickory Hills? How does this exist? Like all this land, you don't feel like you're where you are when you're in this yard.
Even my Amazon drivers, contractors that come and work on something for a little bit, they're always like, is that your backyard?
Yeah.
And I'm like sometimes shy to be like, I feel like, yes, like, please don't end up causing a curse or, like hexing me or bad juju or whatever. I'm like, yes, it is. We're humble about it. Thank you.
It's a cool yard.
People love it because the city, I grew up in Iowa again where like land is everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Here I get it. The culture's different where people are like, wait, you have that much space to yourself without neighbors all, up in your business. So I was like, yeah, it's awesome.
Do whatever you want.
Kids love it.
Yeah. Play whatever sport you want. Games, anything. Bonfires.
Yeah.
So you have bonfire. Is that your bonfire pit?
Right over behind you, actually. There's a little. It's not really. Maybe it's not a bonfire.
Okay.
One right down there.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But that one got me the fire department. I tried. We cut some trees and cleared this brush.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can just light a fire and, control it with the hose and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Someone complained somewhere that had the smoke coming up or whatever. And then the fire department came out and that was my first time in my life I ever had to appear in, quote unquote, some kind of court. Not that it was a true, like, judge with a gavel court, but it was like a panel, a local village panel, and they have to, like, see what they're going to do with you. And
Wait, they did that to you?
Yes.
They never did that to me. I did way worse things on this property.
Really?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I had the fire department come here twice. Once because someone was fighting back here and they called. That's a whole nother story. Oh my God. But the last time we were here, when we were taking down the DZ, we were burning it in the big, right where the trampoline is. You probably tell the graph's a little funky there. That's because we were burning down the entire DZ the whole day. Taking it apart in pieces. Massive fire, huge fire. I've had insane fires right where that pit is. Massive, massive fires, burning dressers and chairs and pianos. I burned 2 pianos there.
Really?
No fire department ever came. No one ever said anything. I never heard it appear in front of anyone. The last time the fire department did come here was when we were burning down the DZ. And they came here and I ended up knowing the guy who was like the lieutenant on duty. And he just was like, oh, how your parents doing? Like maybe keep the fire down. Like, probably because I knew them. That's the thing, though. I was kind of knew everyone around here. When you're here for 32 years, your grandfather built this house. Your mom was here. Everyone knows me. I knew everyone.
Yeah.
So it was not like I wouldn't get in trouble if people wouldn't be suspicious. They maybe would go to me first, or if police did come because they were so used to this neighborhood and this block and they knew me. That they would be easy on it because they'd be like, oh, okay, we know who this person is. He has the festivals. He has massive parties, but no one ever really complains. It's usually someone in the apartments over there because they can't see what's going on. So if they see smoke, they might call. It's usually not your next door neighbors because they could see it and they're so far from you, they don't really care.
And honestly, it was annoying because like the smoke wasn't going. We didn't have a windy day. I picked a day that was right for it.
Yeah.
Like I was careful with it, and the wind wasn't taking it that way. Wasn't going that way. It was like just going nice and up. Wasn't into like people's window. I don't know who complained, but
it was probably
someone
from
did.
that. No, wait. So you had to go stand. You had to go in front of the.
So I had to. They gave me like a written ticket, and then they gave me. I hosed it down and stuff, and lucky they didn't like threaten to arrest me or something over that. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? I'm like, I'm sorry. I always pull the Iowa excuse because I'm like, I'm from Iowa. This is normal for me. Like I'm kind of new to the area still, and like that gets me off the hook sometimes.
What'd they say?
They kind of like chuckle. Like, at first, they all came through that area right there and stood there, all 3 of them. I don't know if it was like the lieutenant or it looked like it was like a bunch of important fire, marshals or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, and then a couple of them just walked off like, okay, it's nothing. So maybe they legitimately thought there was a house burning or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I ended up going to like the local village. There's like a building over there on 95th Street. And
been there before.
And I was like, I showed up and there were a bunch of other people that looked sad like I did, that they had to be there. And showed up and just,
I can't believe that they did that to you. I've never had any problems, never had to go to court or get a ticket for anything I've done here. And I have done everything and no permits, no insurance, nothing for anything.
Yeah.
I can't believe that they bothered you about it, but
I don't know.
Maybe you got to wait about 50 more years and then they won't bother you.
Right. See that? I got to know people.
That's how it works, especially small local governments. They'll still come check out stuff, but if they know you, like literally know who you are, they'll be like, oh, yeah, it's whatever. It's fine. Keep it down, that kind of stuff. That's how I got away with so much for so long. It was kind of being here for a long time. You do get away with more. That's just how it is. But I can't believe they actually gave you a ticket.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible. It was like maybe, I don't think it broke $100.
Oh,
but it was just kind of a slap on the wrist to say, take it easy.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Oh, my God.
How was it like? Can I ask you a question? So,
Sure.
What was it like leaving a place that was so near and dear to you and had so much? Like, I mean, I remember leaving when I left my kind of like childhood home. Mm-hmm. It definitely has a special. It's a moment in your life where you're like, I'm gonna remember this forever. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think I'm still like wrestling with it. I still deal with it. It doesn't even feel real now. When I was pulling in off 87th, turning left, it was like, oh, I'm going home. Normally I would, on a Sunday afternoon, if I was just hanging out, I would do this. I would just be in the backyard with my friends or alone, listening to music, maybe have a fire, maybe grill some food. And so it doesn't feel so real yet because I have so many videos and photos of what happened here. Everything's documented. We're working on a documentary about the festival that happened here.
Okay.
So it's like, it doesn't feel fully gone yet. This name is still associated with it, my job, my career. But I miss the yard. I miss the fresh air. I miss the safety. Yeah. I miss the lack of streetlights and light pollution. I miss having a custom home that I can customize whenever I want.
Yeah, play with it.
And most people fear when something goes wrong in their house. I get like excited, like now I get to like tear something up and get into it. I miss that part of it because I rent now, and that's different. Parking, always having a nice place to park. Work on my car. I miss having a garage to work on my car. But I mostly miss the freedom and the peace from it, and kind of knowing it's like it was home. It's not like when you move to a different place and it's like, oh, that's my home. It's like, no, it felt like it in a visceral, like in my DNA. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'll feel it and think about it forever. It makes me sad sometimes. It makes me grateful that I had it and I'm just like moving through life.
Yeah.
And I should try to live somewhere new and experience new things instead of being in the same place all the time.
Yeah.
But it does make me sad. I do miss it. But, it just, that's life and you got to move forward. I'm glad I went to good people, good home, good family. It's not like someone tore it down and made some crazy monstrosity, like $1 million home here, which they totally could do.
Yeah.
It's got the land for it. I thought that's what was going to happen. I'm like, someone's going to build a mansion on this property because it's a nice area.
Right.
And there's some big homes coming up.
Yeah.
But, it kind of feels like a dream. Doesn't feel real. Even though it's been 3 years, it doesn't feel that way. I can't really explain it any other way,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do miss it sometimes. There's been mornings or nights where I'm like, man, I wish I was back there instead,
Yeah.
And then there's times where I'm like, I'm grateful that I live in the city and I can walk to that venue, go to this concert, go to the beach. A lot more things to do. I miss the forest preserves a lot. I used to go to those forest preserves right over there on 95th and LaGrange all the time, and I'll walk all around.
Are there pretty good jogging and like hiking paths there?
Amazing ones.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't done those. For some reason, we always end up going farther than we need to, maybe, where it's like we don't realize what's right next to us.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Go down 95th, turn on LaGrange, go south, and it's maybe a quarter mile, and it's an entrance right there.
Yeah, I
forget the name of it. You walk in, and it's a 5-mile loop, a perfect 5-mile loop, and then it branches off to dozens and dozens of miles in all directions. But you could just stay on it and loop, and I would do that every morning by myself or with friends. During the pandemic, the roommates and I, we would drive there and walk it every morning, 5 miles. That stuff's amazing. The safety part of everything around here, but I do enjoy being close to the venues again, the restaurants. It's like you said, like there's great restaurants around here. You could drive and you could be at a bunch of them where I could walk and within 5 to 15 minutes I'm at like every best version of something, from Chinese food to Middle Eastern food to Mexican food to Polish food, Italian food, pizza. Although there's some great pizza spots around here.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure if you've discovered them yet.
We've explored.
Yeah.
We can share notes at some point just to see if there are like recommendations I've missed. But we did a lot of that early on, I'd say, when we moved into this area in general, even before we bought this place. But I don't know, lately it's just been a lot of focus on cooking at home and trying to, teach the kids good habits as far as food and stuff. And money spending, and it's expensive to like eat out all the time. Yeah. But it's nice. I mean, if it's a good place, it's clean and you trust it. It's awesome to sit back and let someone else put everything in front of you and clean up after you.
Have you checked out a lot of the restaurants over by 87th in Harlem? The Nile. Have you tried the Nile?
Yeah, for sure. That one and a lot. I mean, pretty much everything around.
Yeah. I used to go there all the time and go to the bakery right there and get a bunch of different, mostly pita bread, but so fresh and so cheap compared to like eating at the store,
Yes. Yeah.
It's a good spot for that. And you mentioned earlier that in the Muslim faith, you try not to do, or you don't do like interest.
Yeah.
So the same thing with like buying a car too?
Yeah. So you have like either you get lucky and there's a 0% deal going on where you take a hit though, because they kind of like increase the price because they're doing it at 0%. But technically the way the contract works, if it's 0% interest, you could do it. Otherwise you got to, get used cars, used vehicles. But try to get a new car, you're definitely saving, if you're not someone who's a millionaire, you're saving for a while to get a new vehicle.
Same with student loans too?
Student loans, same thing. Credit cards, same thing.
How do you build credit then?
So you still have amazing credit because you're good at paying everything off immediately at the end of the month.
Oh, so you just never let it actually
You just can't let it loop over and then end up accruing interest. So, and there are some people who are like, there's people who are like, I'd say a bit extreme when it's like, I can't even have a credit card. I can't even, because there's a potential for, I'm like, dude, if you can cover stuff, unless there's some, also I think people just go crazy with stuff where it's like, dude, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
I think it's about really about just, I think originally the concept was like exploitation, financial exploitation of another people.
Yeah.
Historically, like what the famous, Christian, we have the Christian story from Jesus in the temple with the money changers and, chastising them for their practices of basically predatory lending, to the children of Israel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the Abrahamic faiths have that. And for us, I think we're probably like the last people. The Muslims are like probably the last people on planet Earth who are still like living out zero interest.
Yeah.
But even that, it's starting to wane a little bit, I think, because of global capitalism. Like every banking system, even in countries that are, Muslim countries that claim to offer like usury-free lending and stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of them, when you do the detailed analysis, and you find out that they're all tied into like the World Bank and the IMF, and they're tied into the international banking system.
Yeah.
And that all ends up being usury based or interest based. So really, it's kind of like you're basically painting lipstick on a pig. From our perspective of like trying to avoid it, it's like you can only avoid it to an extent.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's
about intent.
Yeah.
It's about your intent, where your soul is, like what you're trying to do, what you're
Right.
aiming for. Because at a certain point, a country, even if it's a Muslim country, it has to have a banking system
Right.
and a money system, and it's going to be tied to something in London,
Right,
or
exactly.
China, or New York City, and that's a different world, and they do things different. You're going to have interest at some point.
Yeah.
That is complicated. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's interesting. More people are finding out about it. Like they're now like they call them like Sharia compliant stock exchanges. So even on the New York Stock Exchange now, they have like Sharia compliant mutual funds. So these will be mutual funds that essentially, they don't deal with alcohol or drug companies like drugs. So nicotine, tobacco, alcohol. They won't deal with, for Muslims, they won't deal with like pork products.
Okay.
They won't deal with, they adhere to kosher requirements, basically similar to like Jews have kosher requirements.
Absolutely.
They also adhere to like, it can't be entertainment industry where there's like selling of like nudity, sexual licentiousness, whatever you want to call it. That kind of stuff is not the profit model. So it's really like, solid companies that are producing, usable products every day, like furniture companies, construction companies. It could be, chip manufacturers, airplanes, things like that. It can't be in weapons, so it can't be in anything that basically is causing harm to other people, where, maybe it's some crazy CIA op going on in some South American country and they're bombing, people, and you're getting profit off of that. So it's all that is not allowed. And then they're also very strict about the actual usury requirements of those companies. So the company can't have too much debt to equity ratio. And so those mutual funds outperform the majority of the rest of the stock exchange because they don't include all those things. And a lot of those things coincidentally happen to be more volatile for whatever reason in terms of price. And they also don't include the financial services industry, which is the banking industry. So it wouldn't include stocks from like a Citibank or a Chase or a big like hedge fund. Actually, when you look at the like 10-year or 15 or 20-year performance of like some of those mutual funds, they outperform the S&P 500. Huh. So it's a very good, safe investment now for people that, even if you're not Muslim, like it's like a low risk in terms of real life risk, but it ends up being actually outperforming in terms of reward.
Yeah.
Kind of the standard S&P 500 is like your risk-free investment, but it's also lower earning.
Yeah.
It actually outperforms that, so it's actually interesting.
That's interesting. What is it called again?
It's called like it'll be like if you look up Sharia compliant mutual funds, they have one. It's called like Amana. It's like AMANA or AMANAH. I don't know if there's an H at the end, but like the Amana like mutual fund. There's like a growth one, and there's a kind of just a regular kind of more conservative one as far as risk. And yeah, they perform really well. And I guess more and more like people are looking at those options. And like I said, it's everyone chooses a little bit differently in terms of how they practice their own faith. But I don't know. I was raised that way, and so I try to stick to it. I look at it as like if it's necessity. Like if my kid, let's say, needed a surgery, and the only way I could get him a surgery was I had to get into some debt, and that'd be it'd be like, yeah, I got to get the surgery.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be an extremist about it in terms of if it's like serious consequences. If you don't get into a little bit of what you think is maybe questionable morally, you got to balance those out.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
But if it's, if I can afford it, if it's like, hey, I'll save, I'll be patient, I'll be a spendthrift for a little bit and then be able to enjoy that later, I'll do it. That's kind of my philosophy. So
I like that. I'm going to try to adopt that more.
Yeah.
I already try not to use any credit cards because it's just
Oh, really?
problematic. Yeah. I don't think I've used one in like a year.
That's good.
Try not to. I had to. Not had to, but it felt like I had to.
Yeah.
Kind of convinced that you have to
Right.
for a long time. And it does prey mostly on people who just don't make enough money to get by. Robbing Peter to pay Paul every week,
Yeah.
So it could be dangerous. Don't like it.
Yeah.
I kind of hate it. So I'm interested in what you're talking about because I don't like the predatory behaviors of banking systems and different private companies, student loans,
Yeah.
medical bills, car payments, the way they do it. And very conniving. Like my car payment, I was able to change it like 3 different times just by calling them and telling them like, oh, I can't afford that. It has to be cheaper. And they go, oh, okay. And it's like, why didn't you do that at the first time?
Right.
You went from
there's
this
that much
to
room.
this just by calling and telling
Right.
you I can't afford it. And they go, all right, well then we'll drop it. It's like, I could have been saving so much money this whole time. Like,
And they're still making money. So like even
Oh,
if
yeah.
they're dropping it, they're
Mhm.
still profitable.
Mhm.
It's not like they're dropping it and now they're really gonna, do Ben a solid.
No,
Right?
They're never there to do you a solid. When you buy a car, used car salesman, the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I like to do everything myself. I've always been a very DIY person in everything, not just like building stuff, but everything.
Yeah.
I don't really trust much. I trust person to person, like situations like this. I don't trust systems very much.
That's
Overall,
probably
arching
wise.
systems.
That's like you've got like a good natural programming, I'd say, for like our times. Honestly, that's what I feel like everyone's waking up to that. Like people like you, maybe, or I'd say my dad was like that, so we got some of that from him, where it's like be skeptical of everything. And be kind of cynical of everything, and whatever. But I think more and more people are waking up to the reality of like that's probably the better, wiser intuition to have, given what's going on in the world right now. So
yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. And especially when it comes to financial is behind everything. Like Americans, what are people struggling with? The economics is at the center of everything, right?
Yeah.
The world's changing, the economy's changing. We got AI on the brink coming up, and everyone's scared of what the impact to the workforce is going to be with that. And so I think everyone's like reassessing all the like orthodoxy of what we thought was, oh, this is the way we should live, or this is the way we should exist. And when I first found like Dave Ramsey, he was he was like the first guy that wasn't Muslim that was almost preaching the same methodology for personal finance as Muslims do. And it's Dave Ramsey, and he's Christian, he's not Muslim. And I was like, this is my guy.
Yeah.
I'd sit there and just binge on him in my truck driving to work or whatever, going, Dave Ramsey, see, that's what, you know what I mean? Like It's like validating what your belief system is a little bit, but it's like, it felt good because he put it in such like everyday terms for your average American. And then, the only thing that I feel like he falls short on a little bit, though, is the whole system needs an overhaul. And sometimes I think people are so, like, afraid to be deemed, like, out of the capitalism tribe or out of the capitalist tribe. Like, what are you, a social? Are you a communist? Or that whole thing, It's like, no, it's just, ask good questions. And every system can be reformed and improved. But I think right now America's seeing that on the economic, macro level. Like, man, middle class is eroding. People who aren't middle class are struggling even more, barely getting by. People at the highest levels, they're doing great. But almost everyone, even like upper middle class, I would say, of course, they're doing better than anyone's doing better than the ones below them, socioeconomic, let's say, in terms of just money. It doesn't mean values and lifestyle quality is necessarily better. But, I think people are starting to realize, like, man, if someone upper middle class is starting to go, I have to make $600,000 a year to be able to afford to like have one person working and not have my spouse working and be able to raise the kids, get them what they need, have a decent, home, have the, not even luxurious in a lot of cities in the US. People are living well, but not the way it would have been when we were growing up if someone made $500,000 plus a year.
Yeah.
And there's people, you hear stories all the time online, like, oh, I'm making $400,000 a year total, and I've got this problem and this problem and this problem and that problem because they got for example, they're paying for their parents' retirement and their health care and their caregivers to their parents or whatever, and that's sucking up a lot of their income. And then you've got so you got the healthcare issue impacting even upper middle class Americans, and it's just no one can keep up.
No,
it just seems like everything's stacked against anyone other than like millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah,
almost.
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
No, you're not wrong. It does feel that way. All my peers are around my age, 35-ish, and the amount of people who can buy a house or who have bought a house, most of the people I know that bought a house have been women, and it's because most of them, their parents have been helping them more on average, and that's about it. And it's not many, 3 people.
Yeah.
I mean, I have dozens and dozens of friends between 30 and 37, and a few have a house.
Yeah.
Some still have roommates. I had roommates up until 34 years old, and it's really hard not to. Like, I have to weigh, like, should I save money and have a roommate, or should I have some peace of mind and just live alone but pay way more money?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to save up. Anytime I think of anything going wrong, like a car issue or something, it's stressful. I'm like, man, how am I going to pay for all this?
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah. My dad had 3 kids in this house and had been working for 17 years by 35,
Right.
and didn't go to college and somehow paid for all this. And now that's impossible. It's really difficult. Not impossible. Very hard. And it depends on where you came from. Are you going into trying to do this stuff with debt because of your upbringing? Did you go to college, other student loans, that type of thing? Did you go to school?
Yeah, I went to college. Yeah, I started out pre-med.
Pre-med,
I was ag engineering and biochemistry, pre-med major. Ended up absolutely not liking it. Hated it.
Which school?
Iowa State.
Right, Iowa State.
And so I ended up leaving the engineering. I was never like an engineering kind of like ones and zeros on off. I was more the nuance, there's always something in between, kind of a more political person.
Okay.
Diplomatic kind of thinker. So I didn't like that like binary thinking of engineers. My brother's an engineer. He's way more like that's his natural fit. And so I was like, this isn't for me. And then, so I ended up kind of homeless degree-wise, changed my major a million times. One semester, I'm starting out, I'm an architecture major now. Then who's that character off of The Simpsons or on the online? They always be like, I'm an engineer. And it's got like it's like Ralphie. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I felt like I was like, I'm an expert. Like those, you see those memes?
Yeah.
I felt like that for a while where it was like one semester I'd start and then I'd switch. But like 2 weeks into the semester, I'd be like, this is a mistake. I'm not an architect. Who am I kidding? I have no design skills. I'm stupid. I'm a journalist, and then I'll be like that for a couple semesters. So needless to say, it took me a little bit longer to graduate and finish school because of my adding a double major. Finally settled in business and poli-sci. Finished that out, really enjoyed it. And then I ended up, after that, figuring out that I really did like the science stuff. So I took a lot of biochemistry, almost finished that degree. And so I ended up working in kind of biotech, healthcare.
Oh, okay.
So mix of like, business, customer service, healthcare, a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of what I am, not just like one thing is what,
Sure. Is that what you do now?
Yeah.
Cool.
So I work, there's a company called Takeda up north, way up like past Northbrook, up in Bannockburn.
Okay.
So that's where I work, and none of these views, none of these opinions are that of anything to do with the company or any affiliate. This is all just me personally. So I'm always careful about that because nowadays everything is like controversial. Anything you say. So,
like getting in trouble for
anything is controversial nowadays for some reason. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm not very controversial. I try to just talk about real things that I can really do anything about, not hypotheticals and I mean, I work for a school, but because it's creative technologies and I'm a professor, it would be ironic if I got in trouble for expressing freedom of speech pretty peacefully,
Right.
in private locations with consenting adults. So yeah, if I got in trouble, I'd be like, isn't this the whole point of being a professor, is to profess things and talk? And
right.
so I don't think that would ever happen. Also, when you're in the arts, that you get a lot more leeway,
Right.
And I teach audio and sound, so I don't deal with politics and social sciences where you get into the more heavy conversations, history, economics, I'm like, this is a sound class. We're talking about this stuff, how microphones work. So pretty straightforward,
Yeah.
A lot of technical things, and then the creative part of how to apply it, how to express with it. Yeah.
So can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
So this is kind of tying to current events and politics a little bit.
Sure.
So I told you before I came here today to sit down with you, I recorded a monologue for my podcast that I have about the Charlie Kirk incident, killing and murder, assassination, whatever people are calling it. And I always hear this thing from, I'm just to be completely transparent, so I'm very much like I'd say like independent, neutral on most things when I vote. Like I've voted Democrat in the past, I've voted Republican, I've voted third party, I've voted all over the place. Because it really, to me, I think it's a complicated decision on who you're going to vote for,
Yeah.
like for for office. And I also, I don't know, I try to think of things very deeply, and I think that then steers me this way, that way, depending on who the characters are in that given election. And so I just want to throw that out there. But the reason why I ask or preface this is because lately, all the large podcast scene, I call them like the podcast kings, right? They all seem to have kind of this, I call it like a disgruntled disenchantment with like the traditional Democrat, left, liberal politics. And a lot of them were like the Bill Maher's and Joe Rogan's were like lefties, and then they ended up turning more like right of center because they feel like disenfranchised with traditional like liberals.
Yeah.
And because of that, they're always crapping on, elite institutions, universities. You hear a lot of this like rhetoric about even Charlie Kirk. That's why I brought him up is, oh, what are you paying for at this school? You're getting paid to be indoctrinated, and it's all like brainwashing and whatever else. I always like felt like if I had a microphone one day, I'd be like, no, you're wrong. Like my college experience was always extremely positive. Like I felt like, you learned a lot. You got to mix with people from all over the world. You got to discover yourself while you're a young person and discover other people. You got to, if you're at any decent sized college, not even necessarily a university in the United States, you're going to get international students from all over. You're going to get to see what stories they tell about their home countries, how they perceive things. It's just very enriching to me to like go through that or be in a university environment in any way. I love that environment. And what I want to ask you is kind of like, what is your take? What have you seen being inside of like a college or university where like that notion of like, well, everyone's just going to school and they're getting indoctrinated to be like, some kind of like leftist, activist, extremist that the right paints. What has your experience been with like young people and institutions of learning from what you've seen?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've been teaching full time. This is my 8th year, so a good amount of experience now to know, and at 2 different schools. And then I also went to school for a long time and got a bachelor's degree and a master's of fine arts, a terminal degree for becoming a professor. And then I also have guest spoke at a lot of schools, and I do a lot of workshops at schools of all ages, elementary and all above. So I've been in education my whole life, really, but kind of not in the traditional way. I'm just there in these classrooms, but I'm teaching the things that I do and the way that I've done them based on all my experience from people who are better at it, and I'm passing like the torch, passing the baton, and teaching people the real way that this industry works. But what I've noticed, it's hard to say if universities have done it. There's 2 things with universities, but the first thing is just on a human and social level, what the pandemic did, what parents have been doing to their kids with screens, social media. That's the biggest culprit to why kids are maybe having a harder time paying attention or reading or feeling more anxious. The word anxious is new to my lexicon. I didn't grow up with that word.
Yeah, neither did I.
Was not allowed to even think of that word when I was a kid. But it is a new thing, and I'm not going to pretend like people don't have those feelings, especially younger kids, younger women. So I think a lot of the issues start at home. Because I'm not, again, like I was saying, not in political science or economics or social sciences at the university level, we don't really go that far with those conversations. That doesn't come up too much. Once in a while, in between classes or in between subject matters, a student will ask me something off topic that has to do with something like transgender or something with Trump or just something like that.
Yeah.
And I usually will say, I don't care what anyone says or does. I really don't.
Yeah.
And I also will say, this is a sound class. Everyone talk about sound because none of us right now know enough to go down this subject matter without it taking a lot of time. It's okay to talk about stuff, but you should spend some time talking, like what we're doing right now.
Right.
And we only have 5 minutes between classes. So I don't mind talking about this heavy subject matter, but we don't have it right now. And I don't like sugarcoating very serious conversations or skipping stuff. There's a lot to go over.
Yeah.
So as far as seeing strange mindsets or change, I try to get in the middle because 2 things can be true at the same time. There are students now who have a lot more anxiety and stress because of the state of the world. Social media is not helping, like I said. A lot of universities do push too much of one type of ideology and don't leave enough openness for people, which I don't think is good. I think you should have everyone be able to talk. That's the whole point of that place.
Yeah.
And the whole point of a community center, the whole point of a church, the whole point of a university, a classroom. It's to learn. It is to ask questions. So I try to ignore all political and all religion and everything when I'm in class, and I tell students, like, right out the gate, I take out my AirPods and my phone, and I go, look, I have these things too. They are addictive. I have this problem just like you. But while we're here together, I'm going to put mine away. You put yours away. Let's talk and let's learn. And this is a sound class. You do need your ears, but I'm not going to pretend like these aren't a problem. And I don't want you to think that I'm the professor. I'm above you and you're just some poor kid who doesn't know what he wants. He keeps changing his major. Yeah. And so you have one AirPod in and you feel isolated. Like, no, have fun in here. Take out your AirPods. I'll teach you everything about it, how Bluetooth frequency hopping works. I'll teach you about it, but like, that's not get distracted by it. And I'll say the same thing about social media, and I'll tell them the importance of it, how it's a tool, but don't let it own you, and kind of keep it around like so they can grow their music industry and production abilities, but on a social level, because it's a social world. When you want to be in the arts, you have to go to these events and work with people you've never met and invite them into maybe your studio, and you have to be cordial and polite. But I tell them, like, it's not important where people come from or their beliefs. Not that they're not important, but we're humans. And work together and find a common ground. And if you do that in person, you'll realize it's much easier than trying to do it online. I try to warn them to be careful with the online stuff. It's not real. You know, I always grab my phone and it's like, this isn't real to everyone. Right here, what we're doing, this exchange of ideas, the questions you ask, this is real. So I don't like to get too political with them. Because as soon as you start doing that, and they respect me, they see me sometimes as a mentor. I'm twice their age. I have a lot of experience. They dream of doing the things that I do for work, and I slowly realize that. So if I start bringing in, like, well, I'm Republican or I'm liberal or I'm whatever religion, then they might start thinking, like, in order for them to be where I've been, they got to be something else that maybe they're not. Yeah. And so I don't want it to be around that or sexuality, nothing. Just human to human experiences and growth, and I try to teach that. So it's a long answer to what you asked. I'm sorry, but
no, it's good.
I try to stay away from it, but circumvent it and be in the middle of it at the same time. Try not to bring up politics, because politics, money, and religion are very sensitive, especially one-on-one with students. And most of the time, they're asking me heavy stuff about what to do about some guy that's, if it's a girl, some guy that's bothering them at their job, who's harassing them. If it's a boy, like how he should say it, like what kind of job should he get to buy a microphone, like heavy stuff. Someone they know just passed away. I mean, the emails I get are horrendous. And I'm like, I'm not a therapist. I should. Yeah. So I just try to deal with them on a human level instead of being like, oh, wait, you know, you're a broken person because you have to take SSRIs or something. I might tell them, hey, it's okay that you have anxiety, but just know in the real world, when you deal with directors and managers and bosses and CEOs, they won't really understand that, and they probably won't respect you. Not that you don't deserve respect, but I just know how cutthroat it is. Yeah. If you are late for work or miss a project at a company and you go like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do it, I have anxiety, that might not fly. Right. Not that you don't have it, but just be aware of what it means to the average place, an average person. Yeah. And not everyone's going to have this conversation to explain to you, like, that might fly at a university because you can get a piece of paper to back it up. It's not going to fly when you're trying to date, when your tire's broken down in the middle of the night and it's raining. Yeah. Someone's got to change that tire, regardless of how anxious you are about doing it. You know, that kind of thing. Right. And I think that helps to talk about it and bring it down to like the normal level. I tell them all the time what I've been through, how it took me forever to get through school too. Like kind of what you said, I was switching things. It took 6 years instead of 4 years for me. Mm-hmm. And now I'm teaching at a university. How does that happen? Well, it's being honest, talking to my students about them. I always tell them that. So the students who are doing well can be like, oh, if someone can be that way and still get to where they are, that you don't have to always do like the 4.0 summa cum laude route to get to somewhere. So it helps people who are really good go-getters. And then the people who are struggling across the spectrum, they see it and they go like, wow, if he struggled and got her, well, so can I. Yeah. So either way, it's a win-win to just be very honest and transparent about how you got to where you are and what your intention is. I hope that helps to answer the question.
But something tells me that more people are like that, like what you're describing, as far as teachers and professors and, you know, that kind of thing, then the way that everything's portrayed online, as 100%. If like universities don't have like serious business to teach and serious topics to teach and technical things that are not politicized. That like that's to me that's probably the vast majority of what's being taught.
It is.
And then you have a couple fringe classes once in a while every semester that create like kind of this firestorm of attention, right? Oh, they're teaching some whatever obscure topic about these hot issues like sexuality or identity or whatever, and then that becomes like, oh, look what that's everything MIT or Harvard are teaching nowadays. Like, something tells me it's not true.
It's not. It's just like anything. It's the loud minority.
Yeah.
On the internet, it's the same as the loud minority at a university, at a school. You're going to have one-off stuff. I don't know why everyone makes such a big deal about it. Isn't that where we're supposed to have these conversations? Philosophical inquiry at a university. We're all over 18. We are legal adults. We decided to be here. This is elective.
Yeah.
This is a public space. I don't get it. I don't understand the hatred and the anger. But I think people are just frustrated financially, torn, ideologically speaking. I don't think the news helps. I don't think social media helps. I don't think the algorithms help.
Right.
I don't know why it hasn't been taught by like parents to their kids, like how serious these things are and how they're not truly reality. It's like a little slit into reality, but there's so much more than that.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with smartphones. I didn't get a smartphone until I was 25. You know, I went to college without a laptop or a phone. Didn't have GPS. So to me, it's pretty easy to not let it consume me, but I can understand why if you're very young, it's much harder.
Right.
Much harder. And you think it's loud because the algorithm keeps pushes it. I don't know. I don't know what to do about it. Universities, back to what you brought up about universities, like that whole, like, they're a waste of time because they don't prepare you for the real world. You don't have the best job placement. That can be true about any industry at a certain point. Are there too many people being overprescribed, like go to university? Yeah, there are some people who should be carpenters. That's what I wanted to be originally. But in 2008, when I graduated, the housing market crash happened, and they told me it was a 5-year wait to be a carpenter, or 7-year wait. So I was like, I guess I'll go to Moraine Valley Community College in the time being. So I wanted to be a carpenter. It just worked out bad timing for me, and my life is different now. But yeah, some people should be a carpenter. Some people should be a pipe fitter. Some people should work on cars as a mechanic. Some people should be a waiter. We should respect these jobs a lot more. Yeah. Places like Paris, France, they subsidize their food and service industry a lot more, to where the restaurants and the service workers get paid better, and they don't live off tips. They don't worry about tips, and they're so respected that it's considered like a really serious career, and they have more respect from the customers. They don't bother you as much because they're not trying to work based off how fake they can be to you to get your tips, you know?
Right.
It's just, you wanted wine and cheese and bread, and then they bring it to you, and like, that's it. Mm-hmm. I love that. And it's why I wish this country took a little bit more of some smart ways of normalizing industries. Mm-hmm. Nurses, aides for special needs kids. These jobs should be paid better, respected more. A lot of women do them, and that's where a lot of problems arise, where they just don't get valued as much because it's not seen as a tech job or a business job,
Right.
And I think more people should be allowed to go in other places, not just go to university. Because, if you oversaturate it, there's not enough jobs that require a bachelor's degree or a master's degree.
Right.
So, at a certain point, it shouldn't be weird, or you shouldn't feel stupid that you're not going to a school. Because you could just learn outside of a school. Most of what I've learned has not been in the school classroom. Mm-hmm. It's been books and conversations and traveling and podcasts and living, experimenting. That's been, 95% of my education. The classroom was a small portion of it. Maybe it taught me better how to learn outside of it, but you can learn that through good mentors, good books, good parents, friends, cousins, people teaching you that stuff. So I think it is a little oversaturated at the moment. It does feel more like a business. They are expanding my classes too much for how small this subject matter is. It should be 15 students max. It's 30. For money, it's just, it feels very business oriented right now. Yeah. The university system, that I can attest to. It's not good. It's problematic as it all gets.
Yeah, I experienced some of that too. And even when I was in school, it was it started out with like Khan Academy became the actual prescribed lectures for your classes, and you're like, why am I paying this much money for a class when I'm going on YouTube and Khan Academy is what basically my, calculus or whatever topic it is.
Yeah.
All my lessons are being pulled from Khan Academy. And then you don't even really need the textbook. And so they want you to buy a $300 or $400 brand new textbook, or sometimes $1,000 textbook, depending on what the topic is. And it's like, there's something wrong there. It's just, it's not quite
it's too
about the
business
learning.
oriented at the moment and very expensive. It's not good. It's the same issue with our like public transit system. It's too expensive for the middle class or the working class person to really take it. That's who takes it. I'm not sure if you used a lot of the CTA in Chicago.
I haven't. I always say I want to take the kids on the train just to ride the train. I've never even been on the L.
No?
Never.
I can give you some pointers of times a day, times a week, and who to be with to make it the safest as possible.
Really?
It's wild. It's wild. I live right by the 35th Red Line stop. I took it twice this week. I take it all the time. And if you're not, and I don't know how this will sound, but if you're not like a sizable, like capable, kind of scary man, to be honest, it's not the safest thing at all. It just
Really?
isn't. Yeah. Every time I'm on there are people smoking, drinking, listening to music. A lot of the normal women on there, moms, grandmas, are terrified. I could see in their eyes, just like holding their purse, just scared. I usually stand up just so I have a better vantage point in case I have to defend myself. It's faster to do that than sitting. You also have a better field of view. It's not good. And that'll be 11 a.m. on a Wednesday. It's not even, you would see that stuff at 2 a.m. on a Saturday. That was normal.
Right.
But not during the week, during the day. Cigarettes, blunts, weed, all these things that I don't care if people do it in your privacy of your home, like out of respect for your fellow person. The elderly people on the train, the little kids that take it to school. There's a lot of kids that are by themselves going to school, and they're just dealing with drug dealing and smoking, and it's sad. It's sad because it's a really cool system, and you can see the city and all these amazing things, and go to Chinatown, then go to this concert, and go to the park, go to the beach, all on a day pass for a couple bucks. It's awesome, but it's not very safe, and it's unsettling sometimes and unfortunate. That's a whole nother problem.
Yeah.
A whole nother system needs to be revamped,
Right.
Yeah. So you moved to Chicago from Iowa, but like the suburbs area?
I lived in DeKalb for a few years.
DeKalb.
And then I moved into Oak Lawn, lived in Oak Lawn, Bridgeview.
Yeah.
And then we found this place. And
What brought you to the Oak Lawn Bridgeview area?
It was more just to be closer because my job changed to like the office-wise. So it was better. At that point, I was sick of driving in. And I was like, I want to be closer in the city. But living up north is super expensive.
Yes.
For like, if you're up in that corporate, like, I don't know what you call it, like corporate heaven up there where it's just like corporate galore. Everything is just giant buildings and stuff. If you want to live in like a residential home around those areas, it's insane.
Oh, yeah.
The price of
Are you talking about
houses.
like the North Shore area?
Yeah, and even not even North. I know North Shore is pretty swanky, but like even out in, where was it, like west of 294 as you get up to like
Elmhurst?
Yeah, any of those areas.
Schaumburg,
yeah,
Barrington.
Like, from Barrington northeast
Yeah.
up into like Wisconsin, that whole area is still super expensive.
Yep.
And then even like people go over the border, they've been doing that for a long time. So even Wisconsin is, you're not escaping much going up there. You escape the taxes, but then I'm sure the decent properties that you'd want or areas to live are super expensive. So I was like, well, why don't we live in the southwest suburbs? I'm more familiar with this area. Just I've traveled here and visited Chicago and always been connected to this area more because of the Middle Eastern connection culturally.
Do you have like family or anything around here?
No, yeah, I have a little bit of family, but mostly it was for our family business.
Okay.
We'd come in here and we'd buy from suppliers and stuff in the area for our business in Iowa growing up. So we knew Chicago that way. And I was like, if I want to live somewhere, I'd rather, so growing up in Iowa, we were like, you're like a super minority in Iowa as a Muslim. And if you have like a Middle Eastern background or heritage, like you've got even more. Your name's different. Like I grew up like in a small town outside of Ames.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, an eye into like rural America growing up, but being like the only kids in school. Me and my brothers were the only kids in school who had like different names and, just different way of presenting. Religion, sometimes like, why aren't you eating? We're fasting Ramadan, or why aren't you, whatever. So it was good overall. It was a great experience, but And there were overall, even in like post 9/11, it wasn't like terrible, you know. I mean, considering what it could have been or what people think it could have been, it really wasn't. People are, I think, like you're saying, at a human level, it's different than what you see on the news and social media and stuff like that. People connect with you personally, and then they trust and they know that you're a good person. And all the stories they're hearing online are just, you know, hyperbole.
Yeah.
So,
or like the worst, like the one really bad one that gets blown up.
Right.
You know, statistically, you're always gonna have one thing that does happen.
Right.
And they latch on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were also in a big city.
Right.
That might have been helpful. I know in bigger cities like Chicago and stuff, Boston, New York, when that happened, a lot of people who were Muslim had harsher time. Because, you know, when you have a lot of people on top of each other, you almost have like no connection to each other now.
Sure.
Because of that reason. And I think people were just more rude and harsh to others at that time. Friends told me that, you know, growing up.
Yeah.
I noticed that. Yeah, but growing up around here, I grew up around so many people who were Muslim. I'm half Mexican, so a lot of Mexican, black, white. Most of the white was Polish and Irish. So a lot of diversity, a lot of foreign people. My Argo High School, I went to high school, very diverse. So it was quite normal to me. And then when you have a Mexican father and a Caucasian mom, you don't even understand why people are bent out of shape about race and religions. You're like, it's just, you see that you're just a person. I'm just a person from them, and they're just people. Yeah. And they're nice to each other, and they love each other. What does it matter what you look like or sound like? Yeah. I never got it my whole life. And the fact that people are so bent out of shape about it now, I'm like, what have people been thinking about? And we've been mixing around forever.
I know.
Our religions, our cultures, our food. It's beautiful to me, the cuisine that you can get. I mean, to go get a shawarma sandwich and then go get a taco and then go get the, you know, it's beautiful. It's amazing.
I love it. That's what I love about America, man. Mm-hmm. Same thing. I grew up, my dad's Palestinian. My mom is Polish, like mix American, you know, like white, you know.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of some similarities there.
I get it.
My mom's like Polish, English, yeah.
I always thought the same thing. It's like, dude, why does everyone like care so much to like try to almost judge or treat people differently based on something like, you know, ethnicity or race or even religion? To me, like I'm a practicing Muslim, but I don't know. I think a lot of people out there just, okay, I'm a conservative Christian, or I'm a Muslim, or I'm Jewish, or I'm Orthodox Jewish, or whatever. And I feel like for some reason people cannot have like an open heart, open mind anymore like they used to. Like I feel like in the 90s and early 2000s, there was a sense that like you got to be open-hearted, open-minded, be accepting of everyone, this kind of thing. And now it's almost become like this mistrust of the other, you know, like, oh, that person, I know they must have some beliefs they don't like, you know, they're just showing you a front, or they're just acting, or they're pretending, or but really they got some ulterior motive. Or like I hear this nowadays. It's like, I was commenting on this about the whole Charlie Kirk thing. It's like one of the things I talked about on the podcast episode. What are the things that people in my community would agree with Charlie Kirk on, and what would be the things that maybe they disagree with Charlie Kirk on average? And one of the big ones in terms of like disagreement is this idea that, you know, we can't live together. Like people in America can't, from different religions and different, you know, races, can't get along and have a very cohesive society. I just don't believe that. I fundamentally disagree with that. I think we can have a cohesive society no matter what, no matter who we are. Like I think America is so much more beautiful and strong and vibrant and incredible for what it is. And what I feel culturally is like my home. That's my home. I was born and raised here. I have no real, other than visits to like other countries, I'm not like a Middle Easterner at heart. I'm an American.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the most beautiful thing about the country, is that diversity, and that, you know, not that you have to, you know, it's not pressure to you have to change your way of thinking to be somebody else. It's just having an exposure to it is so enriching, and to have an awareness and a more, you know what I mean? And especially living in a big city where you got tons of people from all over, it's just great. And for some reason, I feel like right now we're at this weird moment where it's all being questioned as if it's a threat, or it's, you know, all the fools and suckers kind of believe that. But if you're really smart and you're, you know, what do you call it? Maybe more realistic and not a dreamer, not a foolish dreamer, then you would know that, you know, this just can't work, and we can't just get along and live together, and no society can flourish if it's not like one cohesive thing, which is like white America or white conservative America. And I can't, I mean, I'm an open-minded person. Like I try to see it like, okay, from their perspective, from those people's perspective, is that really maybe true? Is there some blind spot I have to, maybe I'm dreaming too much. I'm too much of an open-hearted kind of romantic. And I still go back full circle. I go, no, like to me, every people kind of has a value system, whether it's religion or whether it's, from their practices, historically in their countries, where they were usually enriched or furthered by having exposure to other people. Usually. Yeah. Unless it was like someone brought in the bubonic plague and they didn't have the plague. Okay, I get
smallpox,
it.
maybe
smallpox, stuff like that. A couple of exceptions, but overall, I think, it's just astounding. It's mind-blowing that it's not, it's just not what it used to be as far as that overall sense that we're one big community, and even though we're different, we're all American, and,
What do you think did that? Personally, I think it's the internet.
I think the internet for sure. Probably the biggest reason, because if you think what really changed from even 2000 till now, it's mostly, I was in college, Facebook launched 2006 at my college, my university. Oh, Facebook hit, you can all go make an account. Remember, you had to have a student account back then. If people don't remember, Facebook was originally, you had to have a student email, and that's how you registered. It wasn't just anyone with a yahoo.com could register. And so, 2006, and even 2006, I'd say I didn't notice anything crazy until you started to get into probably the marriage of smartphones and the apps together in your hand. And then things you start to slowly see it.
The erosion.
At first it was like people would have legitimate good debates and discussions on like long Facebook threads. Remember? You'd open those and go, 30 different comments. It would just be so long. But it'd be like legit engaging, right? People like having a conversation kind of. And then at some point, people, I think, got sick. The issue is like boredom, and I think people's capacity for, tolerance for certain things. Like, I think they just get fatigue. They get exposure to like a new method or a new avenue, like Reddit when that came out, or TikTok is people go binge on something or they dive into that world, and I think they ultimately burn out in that in that space or in that media form, and then you get like a negative effect that stays with you, and then you go look for the next media form that's going to change your life or fill your time or keep you engaged. Yeah. Because no matter what, eventually you can go through the same 50 TikTok themed videos. Eventually you're going to be like, okay, I know kind of everything that's there that this app offers. What's next? It doesn't end. It
doesn't end.
But the erosion for you as a person or whatever damage it's done stays with you. Yeah. And people I don't think we really realize how much it affects even, people I'd say like you or me who are more self-conscious about it, analyzing it. You see the toll it takes with you and your loved one, whether it's a girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, husband, whatever. You feel like, man, this is starting to affect me. Yeah. My relationship, my time commitment, my capacity for being open to something in the real world versus right here in my hand. With your kids, especially if you have, when you have kids, you're like, man, the time you have with them, you realize is so limited. How much of my day is spent between work, sleep, eating, taking care of my physical needs, all that stuff, your body, showering, whatever. You go, okay, now that's how much time I actually have to live and engage with people in my life. And then suck how many hours. Sometimes you do those checks on your phone. Oh, you've been on the phone for 3 hours. You're like, no, I haven't. Yeah. No way.
I know. It's just all the in-between stuff, you went to the bathroom, you slid, you're walking up the stairs, taking out the garbage.
Just adds up.
It's real. We're all guilty of it. It's just, I try not to let it sink in and grab onto my, those dogs.
They're going crazy.
Are ruining our podcast.
Can you scrub them out?
I mean, probably with some annoying AI, I could probably do something, but I try not to let AI take the best of me. For a second, I thought they were over there. I'm like, where are they coming from?
I don't know what they're doing over there.
Oh, my goodness. They're ruining it for us. It hasn't been that bad. Like, this ambient sound isn't too bad, but that dog barking is not good. Yeah. Whatever. So, what's your approach with your kids and the social media and stuff? Like, for you at least, like
for me, it's been really just, one, my kids don't have phones. I mean, they're like 12, 10, and 3. So 3-year-olds easy. But the 12 and 10s, they're like, oh, some of our friends have phones. Why can't we have phones? I'm just like, you're not having phones. Like, it's just that simple.
Do they get mad?
A little. I mean, not yet. They're not at the point where like
About
they
14,
have to.
15?
That's where it's going to be
As
like
a boy?
Yeah, especially now, like moving on, like it's going to be even more expected that everyone at that age has one. But I don't care. I'm kind of one of those people where it's like,
I'm not your friend until you're about 30 years old. Then we'll be friends. That's what my mom would always say. I'm not your
really?
friend.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, man. You
gotta be that way.
know it's not good for them.
It's not.
You know, it's the destructive capability is outweighs far more the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of entertainment and convenience. That's about it, right?
You got all the entertainment you need right here.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. So, I don't know. I'm gonna try to keep them away from that stuff as long as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And then with screen time, even it's like we try to do like, okay, so you get an hour of TV, or watch the time. Don't just be like binging TV all morning, or that kind of thing. So, and I think we learned too, like we were talking about, we grew up in, where Sega and Nintendo, those first systems were out, and we all know that there were those, when the first Halo, the first Xbox game, things like that, PlayStation, we'd spend way more time on a Saturday playing a game or staying up late playing games than we really should have, probably in hindsight when I look at it.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, I just don't want to, I think that, you always try to improve. Okay, what did I get as a kid? What was good? What do I want to improve upon for my kids? And that's one of them. It's like, okay, I don't want to have them just binging as part of their lifestyle on just stuff that isn't value added, because we're all just our time, really. Beyond money, right? It's like every human being, we're just the days that we have. We're time.
Small moments that could be gone in an instant.
Right.
And I commend that, by the way. I agree with that approach. I don't think the internet is a place for kids at all. Smartphones, all of it, it's so addictive. It's so dangerous. It's how very creepy people can get to your kids is through the phone. And so it's good to teach that. And I think that eventually the kids, their friends, if enough people do it, then it'll be easier to do it at school or when they go hang out at a friend's house. Do you ever talk to other parents about that?
Yeah, I have some friends that, we talk about it, and I think everyone's struggling. I think the thing you find is that everyone, no matter how good or bad they're doing on this topic with their kids, whether they're winning the battle or losing the battle, everyone knows at a deep down level that it's like problematic. That I think the issue, the difference is like, you have some people who are like, no, like more like me, like more militant about it. Like, I'm not going to let them get into that. Then you have the other group that's kind of like, they try to be that, but maybe they don't have the rigidity or the will to implement it fully. Yeah. They have the ideal, they just don't have the will. Then you have the others, which that confounds me. Apologies if anyone listening is like, that's me. I'm not trying to like insult anyone, but it's more just like, okay, look, I've had conversations with people where they're like, oh, but it's so convenient because anytime I want to reach my kid, I can text them or I can call them or I can this or I can that. I just feel like for me, if that's the concern, you can still nowadays, believe it or not, get the most basic flip phone.
Yeah, a burner phone.
Just a burner phone that has zero capability practically. And if that's really what you want, is just calling and texting. But I think the minute you unleash the algorithms and you think of like, to me, like, let's just be blunt. If you're going to give your 11 or 12 or 13-year-old something where hardcore porn could instantly pop up on that device and they could sit there and get sucked into that for hours.
Or what happened on Wednesday, what you were able to see.
Right.
The assassination. Right. That was, you could just see that on the internet.
Right.
And an 11-year-old goes to TikTok and you see, that was horrific.
It was, absolutely.
So, and that's just one thing. There's the amount of violence and sexual content. And just ideas, just another kid spouting the most absurd ideas. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff you would have absurd ideas when you were a kid at the playground with you and your buddies. But it was the world of a meritocracy. If he has a bad idea and everyone's like no, and you agree that it's not right, then it's over with. But on the internet, you're by yourself and you're looking. Someone says something, you go, wow, maybe that is true.
Right.
And then you go Google it or ask ChatGPT, which is even crazier.
Yeah.
And that can keep reinforcing the thought because no one's there, a mentor or a parent's not there. Be like, no, what are you talking about, little Timmy? That's not true at all. And it just gets out of hand real quick. Yeah. And you don't discern, you don't have enough wisdom to discern reality from fantasy, the distortion of it. The CGI or the AI of videos and audio is getting really confusing now. Kind of scary and dangerous,
Do you deal with that in your work? Like, so in your teaching and your work, the whole like deep fake, whether it's audio or video? Like,
Yeah.
do you know much about that or anything?
I mean, a
or?
little bit. The audio stuff's getting really good. They're like this podcast, they could easily take it and make me say anything. I've spoken enough on it. The AI stuff for like taking out stuff, like someone taking out that airplane or the dogs barking, has gotten better, but there's a lot of artifacting because in taking out certain frequencies that those sounds take up, also my voice is in that same range. So in order to get them out, I might lose some of the frequencies in my voice, so I might sound a little different. I might sound 5% different than I should. There might be less high frequencies and less low frequencies also in doing that. I try to tell my students that AI is another tool, just like a calculator, just like a cell phone. It's a very advanced one, but use it as such. Be careful with it. If you use it in a way to where it's doing the work for you, then you're never going to learn the process and the pitfalls of it, the failures to get you better at it. And you won't be able to reverse engineer problems when you're in the field. Say you're in the field and you have a gig and something technologically is not working. If you've been using an AI to do that stuff for you this whole time, then what do? Now you have to go hire someone else to do what you should already know how to do and fix it.
Yeah.
So use AI in the same way that, you might use, I'm trying to think, GPS or as a tool. Like, could you get from here to Chicago without GPS? Yeah, you could.
Right.
Will it be a little easier in case you hit some traffic and it warns you that there's a police or an object fell on the road? Yeah, that's kind of a cool thing too. Be aware of both. Don't let it control you, but don't let it go right in front of you your whole way and not know what's going on.
Don't let it handicap you, right? Don't let it handicap you.
Don't let it handicap you, but don't
yeah.
fall behind the technology either, because we get that from a lot of our older family members who kind of disappeared and stopped keeping up with the technology. My dad is a good example. It's like got married and then just forgot about technology.
Right.
For 50 years, it's over with.
Yeah.
You should be aware of what's going on in the world. What is ChatGPT? What is a large language model? What is an AGI, an artificial general intelligence? What is an AI? What are the difference between these things? I'm not saying know the math, know the exponents, know the binary coding in C++ versus Pylon. You don't got to know all that. It's cool if you do. Doesn't matter anymore anyway. AI is going to do all that stuff for you, but
yeah,
be aware of it so you're not in the dark, but you also don't want to be having it shine a bright light on you to where you're completely vulnerable.
Right.
And you don't know what's going on and you don't know how to tell the difference between these things. So I warn them to use it as a tool, be aware of it, don't rely on it. If you need something quickly, like instead of going to 4 different Wikipedia pages to find out the answer, when you can just ask ChatGPT and it'll tell you, sure. But if you're trying to like learn how to change, if you're trying to learn how to take audio out using different equalizations and compression and different audio tricks with frequency crossovers on different tracks, complicated stuff, you can do a lot of that without AI. But if the AI does it for you, then you'll never know really how that happens, why it happens, where you would use that tool, where you wouldn't, and why.
Yes, yeah.
And now that I do know how that stuff works, if there was an AI tool that did it for me, I'd use it a little bit just because it's like, well, I already know what's going on. I don't need to do this myself. I could just have it do it. But I don't know. I like doing stuff. I would rather physically have to do it all than have an AI just clean it up for me. It just isn't fun. I don't know if it's the purist in me. I just like pure things and getting to the point sources of how things operate.
I think that's just it. What you hit on something right there is like understanding fundamentally how it works.
Yeah.
Even if later on you want to then hit cruise control, it doesn't mean you don't know how to drive.
Exactly.
Right. But if needed,
metaphor.
you know how to drive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But if you want to use your hands free for a bit to check something, or you got an important update and you got to look at something or whatever, but you want to have the safety to know someone else, some other system is watching the road a little bit as you're kind of like maybe not supposed to be, but are looking at your phone or whatever. It's good to have.
Yeah.
But you know how to drive.
Yes.
And I think the same thing, man, for a lot of stuff, even side things like my podcast is a side kind of passion project. At one point I made an app, like a financial app for people in my community based on our kind of like back to the whole interest thing, not to go way back there.
Yeah.
But so like some people do like saving circles, they're called, like rotating credit and saving circles where 10 friends get together, they each put in $100. And so each person gets to take the $1,000 once a month. And then the next month everyone pays in and then the next guy gets it. And then it goes all the way around till everyone's used the $1,000 once and everyone's only paid $1,000. So it's like a money lending kind of thing that people do in third world countries. And so I made like an app for that, like a web app with a friend of mine using like cheap, like contracted like Indian programmers for like $12 an hour. And so like stuff like that where like I had no reason to do it. I didn't really make a bunch of money off of it at this point or anything, but I that'd be cool if that existed. Let's go try to make it. And then the process to go from zero to something is really intriguing to me.
Yeah.
And then when you get to that, it's amazing how much it's helped me in my career as far as like working in a company, because you get like a role or responsibility or a little side project thing that you got to take on. And well, now I've actually done like web development, or I've done podcasts, so I learned some of the audio, video, what does the audience want? How does YouTube work? How do the algorithms work? How do you promote your podcast? So like that now allows you to like sit in a marketing meeting and have an idea of what they're talking about. And so like just dabbling and getting life experience to what you're saying and like rolling your sleeves up kind of experience. I would encourage anyone who's like listening to this and like they're like thinking they're kind of one or the other, like either they're like the roll your sleeves up kind of blue collar type, or they're more of like the white collar office type. Like you get so much benefit from doing the things with your hands and working with your hands and working customer service jobs and, having when you're 16, 17, 18, a paper route or chores or getting paid to mow lawns, all that stuff gives you so much later on if you have a role that maybe is more intellectual or maybe requires more your brain work than muscle work. But having that experience is just absolutely invaluable because you know how all the pieces tie together. And that's what I worry about. Like your whole thing about AI is like my kids, for example, if it's so automated and so easy and so everything's done for you and kind of spoon fed, it's not about necessarily laziness. It's about your brain learning.
Yeah.
It gets stunted.
It gets stunted. It has atrophy. You don't exercise it. You could be more susceptible to Alzheimer's, dementia. Anyone I've ever seen not stimulating their mind, I see it in two places with dementia, Alzheimer's, or just someone who's got like a rotten mind when they're older. The two places I see it is they haven't been learning or stimulating it continuously, or they're angry. They're an angry person. They don't let go of things. They don't grow up. They just circle around issues or something that happened in the past from 30 years ago, 10 years ago. A friend lied about them and they still hate that friend. Yeah. And they can't let their mind move on to the next thing. They have resentment, And those two things seem to rot the human spirit and mind: resentment and anger, and unwillingness to grow and learn, or both together. They kind of go hand in hand. And I think phones and smartphones can exacerbate that, and I think AI can. Because it's easy to keep getting upset and angry when you're looking at the worst things on the internet all day. Yeah. That's, again, the angry thing, the resentment thing. And then it's pretty easy to not keep learning when you have something just doing it for you all day. And you put them together, it seems like that could be some of the formula for the issues we have at large with anger and riots and wars and frustrations, cultural wars, mean things people do on the internet, stalking, doxing. I mean, all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's not all of it, but I think that's part of it. I think it leads to mental health problems. I think it leads to food addictions, drug issues. Yeah, I don't know. But I will say on the positive side of things that we could try to use these things for good. We could try to use them to not make the old mistakes, to learn from old policies or old permits and old laws that we had that were actually detrimental or not smart. Maybe it could be something that leads to less house fires because we learned through AI that we shouldn't be doing certain things a certain way. Maybe car accidents happen less, That's a positive.
Yeah.
Medical things could be better too. It is ironic that probably the first things to get replaced are the exact same people who created the AI to begin with.
Right.
That's always a little funny.
Except for Sam Altman. There was that famous thing recently where he's like, every job's going to be taken but mine.
Yeah.
Like, so what won't be taken? He's like, pretty much like private equity. Private equity's safe.
Those guys that run those companies crack me up. I mean, I don't know them. I don't really want to, but they are so delusional. When they're just always like, oh, it's going to be fine. It's going to be great. I'm like, you are just like every nerd friend I had that no one liked that got into computers and somehow became a billionaire. And now you think it's going to be okay. It's like, no, why would it be okay?
Right.
Why would replacing human beings end up well at all for anybody? You have enough money. I heard that Sam Altman interview. It drove me mad because he was talking about, like, yeah, my job's probably going to replace one day too, and that's okay. Like, it's okay because you're a billionaire.
Right.
If someone said, right now, Ben, your jobs are going to be replaced this weekend, I'd be like, what? How am I supposed to pay my rent and my car payment?
Right.
But if I had $1 billion in the bank, I'd be like, well, all right, guess I'll figure out something.
Right. Right.
Like, the audacity to not realize that even if he wasn't a billionaire, say he's a millionaire, the friends and connections he has alone, he will be fine. Someone's going to get him some job on the board somewhere at some company. And it's very naive, those people that are in those spheres, to think that it's just going to be fine. Like, people will be happy. They'll find other jobs. It's like, what are we talking about? You're just happy because you created this and you have all this money now and fame and you're on all these podcasts. But I don't think many people are very thrilled about this. The only people I know that are either too naive to understand it or have a lot of money, so they're okay for now.
Yeah.
Anybody in the middle is kind of terrified.
And they
really
make, and what really kind of upsets me to a degree is like this idea that if you have fear or anxiety, to use the word, about AI and about automation and everything and people being replaced, like if you have fear about it, you're somehow like either intellectually stunted and like you're stupid because you just don't get the beauty of the big picture, or like you're the peasant who's just like, oh yeah, like they always bring the example of before the printing press or before the wheel was invented, people really thought that was going to be terrible for the, but it all just worked out. But it's like, this is they talk about, it's like a humankind inflection point with AI where the world will never be the same in a much more fundamental, all-encompassing way than based on what I've heard and read and stuff, than any technology that's come before. And so I feel like that's the frustration that a lot of people have, probably similar to me, is like, how can we say that everyone being, worried about it is just either stupid or they don't see the big picture, they're not wise enough to get it, or, it's all unfounded concern that it'll just work out okay, don't worry. And part of the problem is like we're so distracted, our lifestyles are so busy, and so, people are in debt and they're trying to pay their bills and all that stuff. Where can you expend the extra energy and time and mental capacity to really like say, I'm going to try to really dive into this and engage in politics locally to try to fix this or have a plan for this? Or there's really not much of that.
No.
We're just going 100 miles an hour forward. No one can really question it. Only a few people do on podcasts or this or that, but you don't feel like there isn't a serious enough group of people questioning it, saying like, no, wait, we demand you tell us what the plan is for our country or for society when this change comes, and what is it going to look like. And so I think that is very destabilizing too, like socially. Like if people are frustrated, they're scared, they're pissed off, and then pissed off becomes rage, and then violence, and then it just snowballs from there. That's what I worry about around this whole thing. You got economic problems already, throw AI onto it, throw uncertainty, throw the internet problems that we talked about, and then debt, and keep piling it all on. Wars,
immigration.
Right, it's so many things at once.
Division in politics across the board. If you're not my team, people are like disturbed by you or like angry, which is crazy. Like did people really care that much growing up? I know we were younger when you're a kid, but like I don't remember the adults being that like angry and like pointing at each other and be like, wait, you're this or you're that or you believe this. Like I don't want to talk. Not really. I really don't. Don't even.
Because the majority of interactions were one-to-one, personal.
Yeah.
People would shoot the shit, as they called it, with their neighbor, with their friend, with something more in person than on social media.
Yeah.
And social media just makes you feel like there's a large group of people that either all hate you, or there's a large group of people that all believe exactly as you do, even if it's crazy what your ideas are. And that's I think it's just really dangerous. But I do think, looking at like what you're talking about and kind of imagining what some of your conversations are just from hearing and talking to you, myself included, I would say I think people have reached burnout on the sensationalism. Like I crave more than anything finding someone else who I look at and go, that is a reasonable, level-headed adult in the room who's going to make a responsible decision on most things that they're going to try to support or be against. Right? Yeah. I think I'm so sick. Like I got so burned out with podcast listening in terms of the sensational stuff, the Epstein and the Macron's wife is a man and, like all that, like where it's just like, it's absolutely sensationalized.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's true or not at this point. I'm so sick of it.
Yeah.
It's just overboard, like overload. And so for me, it's like I crave finding someone who I look at them and they look at me, and it's like Avatar moment where they're like, I see you. And it's like, you're a level-headed, reasonable adult. Like, oh, I found you. Thank God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just a normal person.
Yeah.
Who's like, oh, I trust. If I give you 5 issues that have lives involved, you're going to make a reasonable decision that would save those people's lives and be good overall for society.
Are you talking about like a podcast or a politician or
anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's like the politicians go on the podcast, or influencers go on podcasts,
Yeah.
and they have to play into that, the algorithm or whatever it is that they think people want to hear. And so like for me, part of my thing I've been struggling with my podcast is like, I don't want to go down that path of just picking a topic that's like clickbaity or sensational just to do that. Like it's like, okay, yeah, is it probably more boring? Is it probably more going to take a lot longer to grow? Is it probably all these things? Like, yes. But at the same time, I feel like I think society's going to pendulum swing back to wanting more something real, reasonable, but that has like actual insight or nuanced value for your life versus just madness, right? Just like and even like the whole, look at books and podcasts about finance or podcasts about health. It's always, we're going to learn from David Goggins, the guy who's like 1 out of 1 billion people is David Goggins. Or we're going to learn from Elon Musk, the 101 about how to like improve your financial standing. No, you need Dave Ramsey. Most people need like, how do I get out of debt, get to where I have no debt? How do I buy a home responsibly, fiscally responsible? How do I do, basic things, right? Simple things, more real things for their life.
Yeah, realistic.
Not like, here's how you start the next $1 billion company. Here's how I started Google. Most people are never going to do that or need to know that.
They're not.
It's not applicable to them. So
yeah, most people want to be rich. They don't want the work that comes with being rich. Anyone I know that's been really wealthy, not many people, but they work so much. It's disturbing. It's dangerous. It's hurt their kids. It's hurt their relationships, their marriages, their friends, their family, their own sanity, their own time. We were talking about time earlier. They sadly have this philosophical reflection and realize like they wasted 90% of their time working, making money, getting paid off by the company to like sell their soul for time.
Right.
And now the kid's raised up and they never even got to raise their kid, or a nanny did, or a private driver did,
Yeah.
And it's not, you really don't want that. You want to be able to live safely, afford your places that you live without stressing about like paycheck to paycheck. So some stability. Your health is probably the most important thing. And like
absolutely.
Love and peace and hobbies, like that's about it. You maybe like $100,000 per person to do that, unfortunately, these days. And anything past that starts to get a little weird. Anything below that is a little too stressful. So yeah, I don't know why so many people want to be famous or do the clickbaity thing so they can get more views. They just want to be like looked at and loved. And I think they're not getting it in this way, in the connection way, meeting people, talking, going out, trying something new, studying something new. Learning about a different religion or a different culture. Instead, they want to get the answer through the phone or through the SSRI, the prescription drug, the 4chan, the 8chan, the Reddit, the blog. Like that's where they're looking for it, and it's really sad. It's really sad. There is a way to fix it, but it will take a couple generations. It will take time. However long it took for us to get sick, that's how long it's going to take to get better.
Yeah, I think they basically, when you look at it, they unleashed something on us as a society. And I don't mean like the men in a dark room smoking cigars. I mean like really the tech bros, right? The tech guys, like they unleashed this technology that no one was ready for. It was sold as just being this benign kind of thing. Yeah. That, don't worry, it's just for fun. You're just going to get to look up the cute girl in your math class that you want to know her name or you want whatever. That's when Facebook first launched. That's kind of what the appeal was for young men. And I think, it was like opposite sexes being able to like look each other up and, I know, I saw her at the library. Who is that? And that kind of stuff happened a lot. And then it slowly just got it slowly morphed into like the business model of the tech companies took over advertising, the algorithm stuff. And then it just became basically exploitive advertising, hyper capitalism on the individual brain sitting in their private home or on you know, next to their partner in bed at night, instead of engaging with them, being sucked into that, all to sell advertising. And it just, when you think about it that way, and you go, man, like we as a society had like no real legitimate policy decision hearings, Senate hearings. There was like the demonstrative Senate hearings that you saw where they want to like have the moment where they can like shame the tech, Mark Zuckerberg or whoever. But as far as like where you're like, we're going to rein this in and have control and oversight to say, here's what you can and can't do to a human mind or a child on the internet, or you need to be responsible and accountable. It's not just put as much money as you can into yachts as in the shortest amount of time. We didn't do that.
No.
And as a result, like like you said, like how long is it going to take to recover from this? Well, God, like
25 years. It took us 25 years to
easily,
get here.
you
know,
if we're lucky.
Yeah, there was no oversight. I don't know why the government is so strict on so many things, but wasn't on the internet or the tech companies. The data mining they were doing, the advertisement, constantly following us and collecting data. Unless you go into every single app and device and manually turn off all the data mining, all of the GPS following, all of the microphone listening, like all of it. I've turned it off on all mine. My phone is just a useless smartphone at this point. Unless you turn, and even that's not foolproof, wink, wink. So unless you do all that and are aware of it and are aware of how they'll throttle things, if you pay for a premium Spotify, but you don't go into it manually to your settings and change it to the 320 kilobytes per second and highest quality, and even when you're on data, they will throttle you and keep you at the lowest quality even though you're paying for the highest one because you didn't go in and manually do it. That's how they all operate. They do it with everything. YouTube does it. You pay for premium. It won't always go to advanced 4K. It'll keep you at 720p until you physically go right-click, go to advanced, go over, click 2160 4K. That's how they do it. That's just a simple metaphor of how they treat you along the way with everything.
Right.
If you think they're not listening, they are. If you think you have the highest quality thing, they don't. They don't tell you that you don't. They just assume that you're not going to check. They keep sneaking advertisements in on when you're paying your monthly Disney Plus or Hulu or HBO. That keeps going up. They ruin movie theaters through doing that. And they could just keep theater movies or movies in theaters longer and then have them go out on streaming. Just like we used to. It worked great in the 90s with that into Blockbuster or that into Hollywood Video. It's the same concept. And it made movies more popular because people knew that they had to see them there. Otherwise, they weren't going to see them until 7 months, 8 months later when they were finally rentable. And you don't want to do that because your TV's not as good as the theater. So it worked. And then if you liked it, if you went to see the new F1 movie and you liked it, when it does come out in around, Christmas time, for renting, you're like, man, it was so great when I saw it back in June, but that was a long time ago. I kind of forgot it. Let's rent it and watch it. I want to show my friend. That's just another example. It would work really well, but they want the fast money up front. They want the control. And the movie theater issue, the music industry issue, don't even get me started. That's
You know a ton about that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't know much about the music industry.
I
Is it
mean,
like, I've heard that in a simple way, it's been like all the value and control and profit has been stripped out of the artist's hands, right? Is that
it depends on how popular you are, but yes, it's been stripped out of the artist's hands. Live Nation, you know what Live Nation is? It's like a big company. It's a conglomerate now. It's monopoly. What's it called? Oligarchopoly? Is that the right word for it? It's one of those types of opolies. And they own Ticketmaster now. I think that happened in 2011 or 13. Ticketmaster was the sales of tickets. Live Nation was the promotion of concerts. And they now own both. So they own and then they have licensing deals and strict deals with venues to where they could be the only contractor, only event happening at those venues. So say it's like the Aragon Ballroom up north in Lakeview, or maybe United Center or something, we'll say. These are just examples. Live Nation is the only company that can have events there. The only ticketing company that could sell the tickets is, who would have thought, the one they own through there. And so they own that, then the sales on it, and then they can even have deals with companies or bands to where if they want to work there or be part of like working or performing at Live Nation, they have to do exclusive deals with them. So they can't go with like another company. They might even they have their own agencies. So their agencies will reach out, control a band. Now that band only gets a certain amount of money they can control how much they get from ticket sales or vinyl sales or concert tickets. That's why the tickets have gone up so much. They control the market kind of with everything else, like why an Apple phone is so much. It's not that many options in America if you want to fit into their ecosystem. They kind of get you that way. It's the same thing with Live Nation. So if a band doesn't want to use it, they might get ostracized. They might have sketchy things happen to them. They might not be able to because of the monopoly. If they went to another venue and were like, hey, we want to play, the Live Nation, oh, no, we can't. This is a Live Nation venue. You're not allowed to play, or you opted out on like working with us. So it's really challenging, very mafia-esque. They own the sales and ticketing for everything. They set the prices. They extort the artists. It's really difficult. They have their own agencies for being managers for artists, which is even worse. They've made it to where artists can't make money off their, streaming off Spotify or iTunes. So now artists are like, oh, we'll charge more money at our concerts then. We'll have to make more money there. And then Live Nation gets involved, makes even more money, adds a fee for it. So now the tickets would have been $80, now they're $150. I'm not sure if you go to concerts much recently, but they're so expensive.
Really?
They're so expensive. I mean, the average concert now, $150 if you want to just go to not even something big. If it's big, I know that, was it Oasis that played recently at United Center or at Soldiers Field? Cheapest tickets were $500.
Cheapest tickets,
$500, which is absurd.
That is insane.
Taylor Swift's situation, same thing. And then the third-party bots on the internet made it even worse because they go in and buy up all the tickets instantly. And then now people can't buy the tickets and they sell them for even more money. It's really bad. The whole music industry's gotten convoluted. It's been happening since the 90s because of streaming. The pirating already became a problem. But it was already dark and dirty before that. It just looked differently. They had way more people taking cuts that shouldn't have been. They had a production manager, then a manager of the music, and then a producer, and then a producer manager, and a recording engineer. And every single person got a percentage of the recording, which is crazy to think about. So that was kind of shady, and that screwed over the artists. But now the record label, the big one, the talent buyers, the agencies kind of screw them and make it hard for them to want to do one-off stuff if they want to do it. They don't have much say. They can only tour so many venues. The Live Nation has the strictest like radius clauses for a lot of the bands. You know what that is, a radius clause?
They can't perform within a certain...
Exactly.
Oh.
So if they come to perform at Lollapalooza, they're not allowed to perform within 300 miles of Chicago for like, a month in any direction, which is absurd. What if you're like a struggling band, you want to play in Milwaukee? 300 miles is pretty far.
Right.
Now I have to go all the way to, Nashville before I can finally play again.
Right.
So, yeah, it's like corporate mafia stuff, Just you feel like extorted. Feels like a lot of extortion. You don't really have a say. And it's happening with the movie industry, recording industry,
healthcare,
everything,
man.
Just greed.
It's
weird.
Just
greed. It's
like
too
when
much
you mention
money,
this, I'm like
greed.
the story you're telling of music, which I know nothing about, is like it's like the story of everything we're seeing. Healthcare, feel like everything is like exploitive, like under delivers and you overpay. Almost everything.
Everything.
Right.
Everything.
And that's not supposed to be, not to like try to promote socialism or communism or anything like that, because somebody like, oh, he's a lefty or something. No, I really genuinely am like a business-minded guy, very level-headed in terms of dollars and cents and personal, property rights and all that stuff. But I'm just saying, like, the promise of the true champions of capitalism has always been that capitalism will deliver the best product at the lowest price. That's always the argument, right? But I'm like, just on our conversation alone and the trend that you see out there, it seems like we're getting the worst product at the highest price.
Worst product at the highest
right?
price. And in that highest price, many people exploited along the way from this technology that we have. That camera, that laptop, that interface, those headphones, this cell phone, that power brick, the power supply, the cloud lift, this microphone, all were made by forms of slave labor just to get the rare earth metals in Africa. And then the extortion of the Chinese people who are in charge of them, that they've been lied to, just to get that material out of there. and then the people who have to manufacture it in China and put it together, then get it over here, and all they put on it and any of this stuff is like, oh, it was designed by like an American.
Yeah.
That's about it. And how we even got it. And then the price tag of it here is absurd. It should be $500. It's $1,500. It should be $200. It's $1,000. So like what you were saying, it's supposed to be the best price at the most affordable way of doing it, most efficient way. We are not doing that. We're not efficient. We've lost, I think, just greed. We lost sight of the stock market. I think shareholders, I think the system of every quarter, every year, every semester needs to be more and more money.
Growth.
I think that is what did it. I think short-sightedness of being unified and working like for the future and betterment of each other has been lost. Which is unfortunate, you know.
There you go. So you're out of the shot.
We got a
my
fan.
son. He wants to see what's up. So what I feel like we've maybe given the audience a bleak picture of a lot of our. We feel like
we can talk
two
more,
disgruntled old men talking about a lot. But what gives you a sense of what are you looking forward to in the future, and what are your kind of aspirations or goals? It'll be fun to like look back on this maybe like in 10 years and go like, you know, we're having this conversation where are you at? Where's life taking you? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
What gives you hope? What are your aspirations or motivations that keep you positive for the future? And also I want to know a little bit about your travels. Like tell me a little bit about where you've been and what you've done in traveling.
Okay. These are great questions. Thank you. I know we've been pretty pessimistic, but there are kids in my family, like nieces, nephews, cousins. I look forward to growing with them, teaching them, showing them the fun stuff that I've been able to do. Continue what I started here, the festival, DZ Festival, trying to get that going in the city. So that journey to doing that again, to learning and meeting new people, to meeting more bands to get involved with it, that's a big one. I want to start a workshop in the city, a studio workshop space where children that don't have access to things can come and learn about like production and music theory, audio theory, live sound design, Foley work, video game design, just all that stuff, and have it be a place that communities can go to. I want to tour more as a sound engineer and as a musician, and as a podcaster. I do that a lot, go to different locations, either record bands, interview people, or do my own band playing songs on stage. You know, I played in Dubuque and in Davenport.
Oh, cool.
Iowa.
Yeah.
Dubuque is a fun town.
It is.
It's
beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm optimistic that because we have these abilities to reach into technology and see and learn stuff in such high quality, that with enough people talking and enough community effort that we can use these tools for really great stuff. Education, learning, healthcare, philosophy, history, learning more about languages. We can do a lot of great stuff with it. So I think if we could just turn more of the tide, this big ship slightly over the next 5 to 10 years, we can get to a much better world because of the access to information.
Yeah.
So I believe that. And I believe that, or something I'm looking forward to, is getting older and wiser, not because of aging in a bad way, but I feel more at peace as I get older because I accept more for how things really are. I learned that I don't know that much, and somehow in doing that, I feel like I get smarter and smarter by being more humble about, like, I don't know. You know, like what you were telling me earlier about the interesting with Islam belief. I didn't know that, and some people would not want to admit that kind of stuff. You know, and I'm just like, it's okay. You can't know everything.
Right.
I know so much of random things, and then there's a million things I can't possibly know, and that's okay. So I'm happy to be more okay with learning, admitting that I'm like just a simple human being, a simple Homo sapien that's just growing and learning. The discoveries that we keep finding on this planet, I'm looking forward to, and some things about my travels. So I've been all over America, most of the 48 states, through driving, a lot of road trips, a lot of camping. Grew up camping a lot here, my family and I. Didn't have too much money, so we didn't do hotels or vacations. We just camped or went to my grandparents' house in Indiana where they lived by a lake. That's where my parents went to retire. So did a lot of boating and camping and fishing and outdoorsy, tons of outdoorsy stuff. Hence living in that cabin over there.
Yeah.
Hence living in the cabin behind it, the red one now, the nicer one. It was nicer at least. Sleeping in that platform. Always an outdoors person, still am. Bugs and weather and hardships and the elements don't faze me. I embrace them. I think they're all important. I love the cold. I love the heat. I love getting dirty. I love building stuff. And so in traveling, and because I've traveled that way, sleeping on people's couches, sleeping in my car, camping, I've met so many people around this country, so many bands, possibly, I don't know, at least 10,000 people came here to record when I was here, maybe more. Tens of thousands of people came to the festival here. So sometimes I didn't travel a lot. The world came to me. I was so busy in those 12 years from 2010 to 2012 doing DZ Records and the fest and the podcasting that I didn't leave that much, but the whole world came here.
Yeah.
I had bands from Seoul, South Korea, Tokyo, Italy, France, Canada, Mexico, other parts of Europe come through here while they're on tour, different bands. So like international people came through to my basement where I was just like, hey, I record down here, which is kind of crazy and bizarre. And then hundreds and hundreds of bands from around the country, touring acts, New York, Texas, Florida, Utah, LA, Seattle, doesn't really matter, everywhere. So in a weird way, this property brought the world to me, and I didn't even always have to leave. And a lot of them would stay the night. They'd reach out like, hey, we're on tour. We heard that, bands can stay at your place. I'm like, sure. And let them sleep on the couch or in the basement. Usually I'd lock the studio. They'd sleep upstairs.
Yeah.
And you'd stay up all night just talking. No cameras, no mics, no technology, just hanging out. And someone is from Kentucky and their uncle did this and they fought in this battle. Or, you just hear all these amazing stories. You're like, wow, this world is crazy. Like there's so much to be had just through talking and conversation. That's what sparked the podcast idea. Towards the end, 2020, at the end of the first year of the pandemic, I was like, I keep meeting so many cool people through recording bands, doing live video sessions, doing monthly shows, comedy shows, having the festival, and then constantly having parties. There would be 5 to 15 people over every night of the week for endless years. I had 19 different roommates at one point. I mean, everything. And it made me want to start a podcast to talk to the people I meet along the way. And then realize you can just meet anyone and have them on your podcast and talk, because everyone has a great experience, a great story, a great perspective to share. Should not be swept under the rug. No one's more important than the next person. Everyone has this equal soul that we kind of share and embody. I don't know what it is. I don't know who's behind it. It can be something religious. It can be something metaphysical. It can be something from a different dimension. I just know it's there. I don't know how it got here, what we are, but there's something to it. And the best way to tap into that, to even grasp it for a moment, is to be around people and to share that, share love, share camaraderie, to get through something together. So, yeah. Been to France once, Belgium once, Mexico, to visit family and record bands. My goal is to travel more and record more musicians around the world and start a series called The Human Sound, kind of like what Anthony Bourdain would do with food, but do that with music, go to different countries.
Cool. That's a neat idea.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything quite like that. Go to different countries, record the bands, show behind the scenes, interview them, and show the world. They come back to Chicago and show America, show Chicago, that band from, Mexico City, that band from Paris, the band from, it could be, a band from Saudi Arabia. There's music everywhere.
Yeah.
I would love to go around the whole world and cross-pollinate the different music scenes, the different styles, the different cultures. I think too many people are obsessed with just the music that they're shown in this country or on this, and wherever they're located, and they don't open themselves up to other styles, other music, kind of like cuisine or fashion or religious beliefs. There's so many great styles of music, so many amazing historical instruments and ways of singing and different music theories around the globe, from Eastern to Western to certain tribal ones. And to neglect that or sweep it under the rug just because it's not Katy Perry or Taylor Swift,
Right.
it's a disservice to the beauty of like what the human mind can do with with instruments, with physical things, with their expression, with dance. So many cultures have great dance. You know, I know every time I see videos of the dancing that a lot of weddings are that are Muslim weddings, it's so cool.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Really, really
debka.
pretty.
It's called the debka.
That's
You
what
see
it's
that a lot
called?
of the Palestinian dance, or that in a circle, the line dancing in a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. it's
Stuff's
neat.
remarkable. And people, when they first see that, especially if it's different from them, they're kind of like, what is this? But it's like, every culture does this.
Yeah.
Even if you're like super duper American white, there's
Yeah.
line dancing.
Right.
You know, there's different kinds of dancing that we even do. The Irish do tons of dancing, the
Oh, yeah.
Russians. So don't think of it like, why is like that culture doing that? It's like, don't look at it that way. Just look at it as people dancing, playing music, just like
Right.
you would in your culture. It just looks different, but it's not actually that different.
Right.
Just their approach to it, their interpretation of it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Can I
Long
share?
rant again.
No, that's good. Can I share
Sure.
what my maybe hopes are?
Yeah,
and
please do.
What gives
Same
me,
thing you
what-
asked me, please
yeah.
share that.
I would say one is I do feel like people are starting to be able to differentiate the honey from what destroys you, right? So people are starting to reach the sensational stuff, the stuff that is just cheap. People are getting sick of it. I feel like there's a burnout. You talk to more and more people, maybe not the youngest people who are kind of sucked into it and don't get it yet.
Yeah.
They haven't realized that yet, but the people who witnessed where we've been and where we are now are like, which is enough of us. Like I'd say people younger than me, people even into like their early 30s, late 20s, all the way up into like their maybe mid to late 40s, I'd say are realizing this. And that gives me hope, because it means if enough people keep talking to each other, keep spreading that message about, hey, what are we going to do to fix this? What can we do to get back on track? What can we do to improve the situation for us, for our kids, whatever? I think once that realization occurs, the rest will happen. It's just a matter of time. But it requires a lot of work, and it requires trust and turning away from fear and demonization. Like those, we have to be able to find that course.
Yeah.
And so for me, my part in that, to do my kind of plug for my podcast and also touch on a few other things, I would say is I started the podcast. It's called the Harlem Lights Podcast. Harlem is the area right around here. Like it's a street that kind of, to me, I use it as like a microcosm of like American Muslim life, and American or Western Muslim life. You've got this beautiful immigrant community with tons of people from Palestine, Syria, Egypt, Jordan, all over the Middle East that come here to start a new life in America. A lot of them, we got like second, third generation people that have been raised here now. They've been here forever. So it's not even, it's new immigrants, older families that have, you know, their kids are all born and raised here like I was, and like, you know, grew up here, speak perfect English. And then you've also got people who like even have, like people like me who have adult kids that are older than my kids that are now growing up here, third generation or whatever. So I think I wanted to take that unique area. I've been all over the country and all over the world travel-wise, and I've never seen a place quite this unique in the United States, where you've got such a concentration of a bunch of unique immigrant groups. You've got Middle Easterners, Polish people, Mexican people, Hispanic people in general, and then white people, all kind of working, and a lot of it working class mostly, like working together, living with each other, eating each other's food, mixing, kids go to school with each other, all that. It's very unique. And so what I wanted to do was use that as a microcosm kind of metaphor for the overall America or West that we're seeing, and where all those debates about the future soul of the West and what does the West look like in 20 or 30 or 40 years or 50 years with all this change happening and everything. And so I started the podcast with Harlem in mind because of the street and everything that happens on it. And then also I did Harlem Lights because I feel like a lot of these immigrants are really lights, not negatives on American society. They're a beacon of something positive. And so I wanted to just have a podcast that hits on issues around that community, the American Muslim community, the Arab American community, but really it could be even like the Southeast Asian community, Pakistani, Indian, you know, Bangladeshi. I have a lot of those folks as well that engage with our community. And just to kind of portray our issues and conversations that we have in a way that your average person outside that community can understand and relate to kind of humanize, personalize, and give people an understanding of like what oh, what do these crazy Muslims believe? You know, what are these people? What is Sharia law? What Sharia law is going to take over the United States and destroy our way of life? No, it's not. You've been sold a lie. Please don't have that opinion. I promise you it's not true. Like, try to educate people on some of those topics in a way that they can relate to and understand. So I said to myself, I got to do something to try to do something positive, try to put something forward that hopefully benefits my kids someday and their life in America, because I do believe America is a beautiful place and has a lot of potential for so much good. But I feel like so often, you know, the bad voices, the evil forces end up getting the control levers, and they're the ones that end up steering everything, when it's really not. To me, that's not reflective of the overall heart and soul of America. I feel like the overall heart and soul of America is Americans want to be on the right side of history. They want to do good. They want to be on the morally, defensible position, wherever that position is. But I think just so much misinformation, so much propaganda, so much media control that it's often hard to wade through that and figure out what that is. But I think at their core, Americans want the good. And so that's my small role, hopefully, in being able to deliver something, maybe someday reach a larger audience on topics from my perspective around that. So I would encourage people to check it out, check out the podcast. And the Harlem Lights podcast on YouTube, you can just type in the handle is @HarlemLights, and you should be able to find me. And I would really love it if people could just take one episode they relate to or think is interesting and just share on their social media. And
check out Omar on Harlem Lights, everyone, please. That's a great thing you're doing, by the way, because so many people around the world, but specifically in America, they grew up Christian, Protestant, Catholic, Lutheran, they were Caucasian. The Muslim world, that they weren't around it a lot, it could be confusing. Islam, the history of it, the different parts of it, it's a different kind of religion, has a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. And it just can be intimidating or confusing. They were lied to or told a lot of nasty things when they were kids by the old timers who were even more detached from it, more afraid, more fear than love, And sometimes you need a vessel, a translator, to kind of simplify it and humanize it. So it's great that you're doing that and have that as a goal, because it's important. Once you learn that, and especially in person or even on a podcast, but when someone tells you that and you think about it, any prejudice or racist or bad thought will usually go away pretty quickly, and a person might even feel a little bad or guilty, like, I can't believe I thought that or said that when I was a kid. I'm not, and they might start educating others when they hear it on the streets or at the store.
Right.
That's actually not what that means, and that's not what their intent is. You should look into it. It's actually like a really beautiful thing. It's actually the opposite of what you're saying. So it's good that you do that, and I like that, because then I can learn and just do what I said. I could hear someone saying something incorrect and maybe give them some insight without being preachy or egotistical. But even admit, I actually don't know that much, but I just learned that, and I'm looking into it. You should too. That's not what they actually mean. It's actually not this, and it's... Everyone needs that. We need more education and translations on different cultures, different religions, different belief systems. It's important for men to talk to women to understand what women go through. It's important for women to talk to men to understand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so important for a younger person to talk to an older person who's not their parent, so they can have a mentor and understand a perspective that isn't mommy and daddy.
Right.
And vice versa. It's important for people in a really polite and genuine way, be friends with different age groups. I love the friends I have that are 60, 50, a 22-year-old, all my students, maybe they're my students, not my friends, but I like talking to them. And so what's going on? What does this word mean? They're always teaching me some crazy new word. I never know what's going on. What's that mean? Bet? Okay. And I do it also to make them laugh. Like I'm a boomer, they laugh at me because I don't know what these kids are talking about. I'm sure you hear your kids say stuff and you're like, what?
We were playing basketball, and one of them goes, "Man, stop selling." I was like, "What? What are you talking about? Selling?"
What am I selling?
Evidently, it means sucking, doing terrible.
Selling.
It's selling, you sold out or something.
Sold out.
I guess that's probably the etymology of that. But it was so funny when I heard him say it. I was like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "Man, I'm like the boomer now."
Yeah.
With the, what we look at our parents as. So, Yeah, I mean, I think, man, there's so much that unites us and we share in common more so than divides us. And
Absolutely.
that's what I try to tell people is that when it comes to like anything like Islam or Muslim issues. And, the media wants to paint, and the government, I think that, if you want to call it the CIA, the deep state, the military industrial complex, whatever it is, the darkest forces of our foreign policy, let's say, they want to paint everything as the most extreme, backwater, undereducated, undersophisticated, militant kind of like a fringe group in the Middle East as being like what the average person believes or how they conduct themselves, which is, it's like taking a Timothy McVeigh type of extremist in the United States and saying that represents white Christian America. No, it doesn't.
No,
at
it doesn't,
all.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the equivalent. The best example I can give. Sorry, I got a little bug getting in my glasses. Okay. The best example I can give is like that of people latch on to these like ISIS, or you hear about some fringe militant group in the Middle East, and they say, they don't believe in women having the ability to go to school, or like the Taliban or whatever it is. And they try to act like that's what the Muslim world believes and values and holds as like their overall value system. And it's just not at all the case. It's the opposite. Like
it's just small sectors.
You're getting this small
right?
fringe person or group or whatever. And even to us, we look at those people as like, dude, freaking crazy. Like those guys are nuts.
Just like white folks
on a
do
lot of
when
things.
they see the KKK.
Right.
They're just
like there's stuff where you're like
and
that.
The KKK are Protestant. It's Protestant white men, and you're like, but I'm a Protestant white man, or my uncles or whatever. My uncle was a Protestant white reverend. Is he like the KKK? You know what I mean?
So yeah,
like,
but
no,
you could sit with a KKK person, they're going to pull out the Bible and try to probably pull out 3 or 4 verses and say, this is what justifies my beliefs. So you have the same thing in the Muslim world. You have people who can pull 3 or 4 verses and say they interpret them the way they want. They take a very, hard position on some issue that's probably more a political grievance than anything else. But then they try to like, mold religion into it and say that, well, my religion kind of like what happened with the Bible and trying to justify slavery back in the day in America.
Right.
Like no one today would think or say, oh yeah, I as a Christian am proud of my book, the Bible, because it encourages slavery.
Yeah,
like,
it never condoned or didn't condone slavery.
Right. So, but people, we what I'm trying to get at is people can compare apples to apples, but what the media does, they get you to actually think you're comparing an apple to an apple when it comes to issues around the Muslim world and Islam, when in reality they're comparing an apple to an orange. Is really what's happening. Like you look at Gaza, one last thing I'll say is you look at Gaza, and this has consumed a lot of my time because of it being such a big topic in my community, and me being half Palestinian, having traveled there, have family over there.
You've been there.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Wow.
Not to Gaza, but to Palestine.
The region,
but, And so, whenever anyone discusses in America the issue of comparing like Israel and Palestine, they bring up Hamas, the most militant, kind of like the equivalent of like our special forces community in the United States, right?
Yeah.
So like people who are definitely of a different cut from a different cloth, love the fight, into going right into the military after high school, love being out and whatever you want to call it, in the mud.
Yeah.
Some of them have like this very strong Christian religious identity associated with their military service. They're doing God's work through the military. Someone like that, right? Who's like a hardcore, what we think of as like a badass in the movies. They take someone like that who's the equivalent of that, but plus having a culture that hasn't quite acclimated to the modern times, post-colonialism, and is still stunted from in my opinion, it's not their fault. It's just that a lot of these countries in the Middle East, they've had authoritarian rules of ways of governing and rules since World War II, 1940, late 40s, 1947, 48.
Yeah.
They went away from colonialism and went straight into basically either a military dictatorship, a kingdom of dictatorship, or something like, a little bit of like a socialist, communist kind of at some point, and then it went back. But they haven't had true freedom and true like representative government, okay? And then you've got the education system in those countries, which of course comes from that. It's top down. So no government is going to want to have an education system that really delivers people freedom of thought, because if they get too much freedom of thought, guess what they're going to think about tomorrow? Overthrowing you, getting rid of that tyranny, right? That authoritarian government. So I'm just trying to give a picture of like the kind of the primordial soup that a lot of these groups come out of. And then you've got violence, poverty, war after war, constant, issues being resolved through, the use of force, intimidation, nepotism. That's kind of how they're kept in place as a people and kept under the boot of their leaders. So you have that plus a bad mix of, poorly educated, I would say, or informed aspects of religious implementation. And then you also have the threat of an occupation. Like in the case of Palestine, you've got people who are living on land that are slowly, like an anaconda around an animal that's slowly being suffocated. They're seeing that they're being pushed off their land, intimidated, use of politics to kind of get people to either say, oh, that's a new zoning rule. That's going to be a military base. Sorry, eminent domain. We got to get rid of your house now. Your farm belongs to us. And then if they resist or they try to fight it, they go to court. They end up getting shot down in court. They go to the UN. They end up getting the US veto at the Security Council that doesn't ever produce any results other than for protecting the state of Israel and its interests. All this stuff happens, and then eventually the outcome is they're off their land. And now their olive groves, their orange citrus fruits, whatever it is they're growing that they've had in their family for 300-400 years, suddenly now or more belongs to someone else who just showed up from the New York or London or some European country because they believe in the promise of the land of Israel. So this is what's happening on the ground there, and you've got people who are truly just trying to live their life, the average person, like the average American, like we were talking about. But then you've got this small faction that is essentially this hyper militant, hyper aggressive, right, group of people that are hell bent on, no matter what the costs, fighting the fight, not allowing the land to get turned over to anyone else. And a lot of times the lines between what's ethically allowed and what's not in terms of anything, combat, outside of combat, right, ends up getting blurred and ends up getting crossed. So my point is, you have that on one side, and then when they make the example of what's on the Israeli side, they always portray it as the grandmother who is in like a knitting club in Tel Aviv that looks just like someone in America's grandmother at their local, church group or their local, the VFW or whatever it is that their grandpa's up to. And they try to say, well, here's what Israel is, and here's what Israelis are, and here's what the crazy, demonic, inhuman Palestinian side is. The demonic, inhumane Palestinian side is Hamas, and the human, just like you American, deserving of life side is this peaceful, beautiful Israeli couple or whatever sitting at a cafe having a drink. And so the apples to oranges thing is destroying us. It's destroying us, I think, as a society, as a foreign policy for our country. I think it's a big lie that's basically being put forth in everything, whether it's online discourse, mainstream media for sure, but that needs to change. What we need to start doing is realizing that any Christian group, any Jewish group in the world could have an extremist, violent, preferring, shoot now, ask questions later type of people among them.
Yeah.
And those people can commit all kinds of terrible acts in the name of God, in the name of the cause, in the name of national liberation, you name it, right?
Yeah.
People can justify heinous things no matter what, and no matter which group they're from. And until we start realizing that and really calling a spade and comparing apples to apples or oranges to oranges, it's always going to be a propaganda and a lie, the way they portray stuff going on in the Middle East. So that's kind of the message for me, is if I can deliver one to people who don't necessarily get exposure to this kind of topic,
Sure.
It's really just, man, you've got to be fair. You go online right now and you type in extremist Israeli statements. You can find so many crazy things about, young children being indoctrinated in Israeli society to like hate Arab children and want to kill them all and want to wipe them out and want to do all this terrible stuff, just the way that we were told post 9/11 that you have, these madrasas in Pakistan and the Taliban run, where they just teach kids at a young age, here, to have a gun, have an AK-47, go kill, go fight for your, go fight so you can die and have 72 virgin kind of rhetoric that we hear about. All that propaganda, you have that on one side that could be true, but you never see it on another side, which in reality, it might not be the exact same story that's told to the kids in Pakistan or the kids in whatever country, but there's an equivalent type of story and narrative and type of people in a lot of societies that are non-Muslim, but we're just not exposing it. We're not looking at it.
Yeah.
And I think Gaza opened that up for people, like regardless of where people position themselves on the issue. I just want to tell people, like, everyone acknowledges that the amount of information that's been put out now on the entire issue is way more than there ever was pre-October 7th, right? It's just unbelievable how much people know or seem to know about the issues now, given that it exploded and went global and viral the way it did. So I tell people, just learn more, do your research, but don't do research on one side. Try to see the other side and look at the extremism that comes out of our foreign policy, the Israeli position, look at like the Zionism in the United States. Really, really militant Christian Zionism exists, where it's pretty much like, hey, listen, we'll write the check and we don't care how many body bags there are, as long as we get our goal of like returning the Jews to the homeland, to the Holy Land, and establishing this greater Israel project. Then Jesus will come. This kind of like end of days kind of dark way of interpreting the Bible and religion, which really is like, what would Jesus do? I always go back to when I was growing up, there was a lot of kids in Iowa wore these WWJD bracelets, right? It's like, would Jesus, who really was a dark, pretty much like Arab presenting guy,
he was.
Today, if he showed up, would he be like, yeah, we need to do something really positive in the Holy Land. It starts with ethnically cleansing this group or that group, or kicking so-and-so off their land without just compensation, or whatever it is. So I think we just need to, I just wish people would think about things more balanced in a more even way, not believe the demonization of one side. There is demonization that can easily be done on both sides, where you can say, that's terrible too. Not that's terrible and these people are angels. It doesn't work that way. And the human condition isn't that simple.
No.
And
read both sides. Be open to multiple angles of the same story.
Right.
Remember that two things can be true at the same time. Remember that there's multifaceted, multi-dimensional problems that could have 5 or 10 problems and outcomes and solutions simultaneously.
Right.
And some might appease or help others more than others, but you got to have compromises, find out what those are, and make sure the next compromise favors the other one a bit more. And that's layered, because you can't even equally make all those weigh the same.
Yeah.
It's complicated. Humans are complicated. Our history is, religions are. But I'm pretty sure in the 3 Abrahamic religions, they probably don't condone the violence and the murdering instead of communicating and forgiving and turning the other cheek and talking about stuff and finding a middle ground and the forgiveness part and loving.
Right.
It doesn't say anywhere in the Bible talking about bombing and droning and famines and killing like that. They have stories of how they used to do that, but then because of someone like Jesus, if you're talking about the Holy Bible, we can get rid of those things because of salvation, because of Christianity, because of believing. And I'm sure in Islam they have similar things.
Yeah.
I haven't read the Quran all the way through, but I know that those religions have a lot of crossover and a lot of the same birthplace,
Yeah.
And anyone I've met that is a decent person that has been Jewish or Muslim or Christian have been the nicest people in the world.
Yeah.
And only extreme people or people who actually don't believe anything and they're so adamant against it have only ever been like the worst people or the harshest people, the meanest people, the least likely to see me from a different perspective people. So I don't think it's necessarily religion that will ever be the problem. I think it's the extreme parts of anything that's human is the problem.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not that religious, but I love to talk about it and learn about it. I think there's something going on there. I'm almost like open to it.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think it's possible to truly be atheist because you can't prove that those things don't exist. You can't prove that Muhammad wasn't really, I can't prove that they were or weren't. So I don't know. I'm open to things. I like to learn about it. I think religion has a lot of beautiful moral, fundamental concepts and laws that, not like legal laws, but like human laws. But I just don't know, because there's been a lot of negative things that have happened in the name of religion that are pretty haunting, But there's a lot of great things too. So I like to learn and keep my ear to the ground on all these subjects and not really say one is dumb or false and not really praise one either, but kind of talk to people. Who knows? I might be Muslim in 10 years from now. I don't know.
No one knows.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I am not opposed to any of it. I think they're really beautiful histories, and I think they're complicated. I think there's a lot of language lost in translation through all the different years of translating different texts, different books, different stories. It's sad, some of the extreme things people jump onto with the ancient texts, and they bestow it upon the next generation of people, and it's not that easy. We live in a different time now, different needs to survive. But yeah.
Is there anything before we end? Is there anything about the house that you want to?
Oh, anything about the house you want to ask?
Well, I do want to just say, not necessarily ask, because I think I've discovered from doing a little bit of projects here and there on everything. Depending on what it was, I learned a lot about the house as far as like what I know I want to do or can do in the future, what maybe isn't feasible, that kind of thing. But I do think I'm going to, at some point, build maybe like a vestibule to kind of connect the house to the garage.
Yeah.
And have like a grand entrance, more like a main entrance, and then shut that other entrance in the front, close it out. Yeah. And there's like that big window, just keep that in the front. Yeah. But then have like the main entrance being right there where that red fence is.
Yeah.
And then have maybe like a sunken living room come off of that back room there that we're using as a dining room and living room right now. But have that just be the dining room, and then have like a living room back here in the yard, and then maybe like a 3-season room or something. That's amazing. Like a dream project for like later. But
I've thought about that for like 3 decades.
Yeah.
So it's funny that
just have a little more space.
Done the same idea in my head. Yeah, I used to just go around and sit on my roof and like map out and plan out stuff. And I always wanted to do a second story, go over, because that garage, the foundation is strong enough for a second story.
Is it really?
Yeah. My uncle built it, and he went down 38 inches and did proper footing. My uncle, who was a concrete worker, my uncle, who was a carpenter, they built it. If you look at the far southeast corner of the garage, it says Stephen and Dan.
I saw that.
You saw it in 1992? Yeah. I watched them build that from the kitchen window, and they did that. And it's strong enough for a second story. You could, because his goal was to do it because he was trying to live here. My mom was like, no. You're not living here anymore.
That's a good idea, Ben. I never thought of that. Is like going over the and then having that living space over the garage, like you see a lot of houses. What are they called? Those that
like a coach house.
Yeah, where it's like there's a master bedroom maybe over the garage or whatever.
Exactly.
But that'd be a good additional use of space to connect everything.
So you could still leave the yard huge and like open.
Yeah.
But you do have space to go into the yard.
Yeah.
I even thought on the side of the garage, get rid of everything on the side and the garbage cans, and have blacktop or concrete for a car to go around, and you can have your garage extend deeper, and your car can go around this way, or you can go through it. But it's kind of like you have a lot of. I don't know. This yard's big enough for a lot of potential.
Your limit is really just the budget.
Space
is not an issue.
Space is not an issue at all with this. No, just the budget.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about just other things that happened here? All the mysteries of everything?
We talked about, I had the mystery about the fort up there that I thought was a deer stand.
The deer stand. That's a really high deer stand, by the way.
It would be. I thought maybe like the tree grew it up. I was like, maybe it was low and the tree kept growing. But I don't know if that made sense fully in my head, but I don't know enough about botany to know if that's possible or not. So I was
I think it would stretch out too much and the wood would fall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it would start stretching that way and the wood would fall down. That's never going to fall until that wood rots completely because of the way I built it. It's wedged within like a bunch of V's up there, and it's such thick wood. It was 2x10s.
So if I wanted to climb up there,
it wouldn't be safe.
It would not be safe.
No, I took down all the wooden steps to a certain point because the neighbors kept trying to go up there.
But if I put the steps in,
if you put the steps in,
I'm saying, but if you got up there, do you think it's structurally sound still?
It's hard to say because the nails holding it could be rusted through to the point where too much weight would snap them.
Yeah.
And all the wood was not treated. The actual rails were, but the other wood was not treated. Wasn't pressure treated, so it's probably quite hollow and weak right now.
Okay.
I'm sure if you like just jumped on it, you'd probably go right through it.
Yeah.
I can't believe for 16 years it's just sitting there all dry rotted still. I mean, I guess I built it well. It didn't fall.
Yeah.
And I made that when I was 19, the first platform. I'll just give you a quick, real fun rundown. My first treehouse was in that big tree closest one to the house when I was 5. Then the other tree over there where you see like missing bark and stuff, and it's like the third tree from the house. I did that one when I was about 6 or 7. Then that tree, this big cottonwood, was where our backstop was for baseball. This was our baseball diamond here. I turned that one. I had a tree house there when I was 7, 8, 9. Then there was a tree that fell down that's not there anymore. It was behind the DZ clubhouse, and that was my tree house until I was 12. Then I built the tree house at the bottom of this main big cottonwood tree where the platform is that went around it, and I had that from 12 until I tore it down when I was 25. But I had that at 12, and I would sleep in that one a lot. Then built the platforms above it, and then I built the actual DZ clubhouse 20 years ago today, or this month, and that was initially one room, and then I added another room next to it, which was the music room. Then I added a room above it, which was where I slept. It was the loft room. And then I added a room behind it, which was the fireplace room, and we had fires all winter. I'd have massive parties, New Year's Eve parties, my birthday parties. And then I added another room behind that, which was the skylight room, because I found big glass sliding doors in the garbage, took off the plastic, took the windows, laid it across the roof, and it was like a big skylight. It was pretty fun. And so it was about 5 rooms, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people, gatherings, parties there for years. But initially I created it to have a creative space. I guess people would call it now like a flex space or a safe space. But it was really, I felt like a weird kid. Didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. Didn't really relate to my family or anything. And I read Walden by Henry David Thoreau. And I wanted to have a place where I can go do whatever I want. Not in a bad way or like legal stuff, but just write poetry, write songs, listen to music, play guitar, record music. I did all that in there, and meet all the weird misfits of the neighborhood and the community, and I sure did. And they all became my friends, and a lot of them still are to this day. And we hung out there from 2005 to 2015 when my parents moved out to Indiana, and I took over paying rent here with some friends until you bought it in 2007. So we did that for 7 years. The DZ was a really cool spot, that cabin. It inspired me to do DZ Records, the recording studio that I started in my basement in 2010 when I was 20 years old. And then the festival, which happened on this property in 2012, we did that for 10 years here. It got really big. 40 bands performed each year, 2 stages, one there, one here. The sound tent in the middle, 40 artists selling artwork starting where those 2 trees are going along this line and then curving here. We had Red Bull come and sponsor it. They brought the Mini Cooper back here. We had food and restaurants all along that way, coffee, taco trucks. If you've ever had Strange Brew Cafe on 103rd and 80th Avenue, we had them come here. Artwork, signs completely covering. You wouldn't even recognize this yard when you were at the fest. In 2015, I built that other cabin behind the DZ that was much nicer. So I had a place to live so I could afford to do the recording studio and rent out the rooms in my house to friends, and then to lower my rent, I built the cabin to live in there. Before I did that, I lived in the front closet where you walk in, where again the water main is and the surge protector or breaker box. And so yeah, I had a crazy life and built a lot of wild stuff here. Paintballed all my childhood back there. There was forts galore. I mean, I built so many forts. If you went around this forest, which I'm sure you've seen weird stuff like old wood on things.
I have, yeah.
Lots of cut down trees that looked like it's been wood dying for 20 years.
Yeah.
Because at one point I cut down all the trees, and then they all grew back, and I built like log cabins and stuff. I don't know. I just did whatever I wanted back here.
That's
like
awesome,
a lot of stuff. It never ended. And it's kind of crazy to look at it now. And I had a garden there, a trampoline there. Although we never did the net with the trampoline because it got in the way of us playing crazy games, you know? We would move the hoop over and play slam ball. That base,
God.
You know, we got
Sounds
hurt.
safe.
It was. I got so hurt. I don't know how I survived this place. I got hurt a lot on this property. Yeah, so all the weird grass and bumps, and you know, my dog Patsy, who passed away, she's buried over there. When I was 19, she's in the ground in a homemade casket way below the earth. Yeah, I don't know. A lot, the ground, the earth, this grass has seen a lot. Lots of glass. You will find a lot of nails and glass and beer bottle caps Probably for 100 years you'll find them. I'm sure you found.
It hasn't been too bad. I honestly haven't. No.
I've always tried
Maybe
to clean
they've already.
it up, but
They probably either you did a great job cleaning or they've overgrown everything.
both, yeah.
And they're kind of like packed into the dirt or mud at this point.
Over there would be the most by
Yeah.
far, but it probably got packed into the dirt. I always cleaned and was on top of it because I wanted to keep the peace with my friends, roommates, parents, the neighbors. After every event, every festival, the first thing I would say, like, go and clean up the neighbors' yards, go clean up the whole street, which saved us because one of the last Easy Fest, there was like a neighborhood watch Facebook page of some moms, and a lady was like, "What's up with this fest? Is this even legal? How could they do this?" And the moms came to my rescue without us saying anything, and we're like, "No, they're really cool. They clean up the whole neighborhood. They donate the money. They do workshops. They like clean up even the garbage that they don't create. All this stuff."
Yeah,
And
that helps
That meant
huge.
a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't even have to say anything. They just went to my defense without me even knowing.
Right.
And I didn't have to get involved with anything. So that's how we got away with it for so long, was the community part of it, was communicating. Doing it at the right time of the year, right time of the day, ending it early, inviting everyone, donating the money, not charging anything, cleaning up all the garbage, even the stuff that we didn't make the mess of.
That's awesome.
Communicating with the police, telling all the neighbors they can come for free, just simple things.
Yeah.
Giving them a heads up, basic stuff like that allowed us to do it for so long. And it was really a lot of people. I mean, I'm not too sure if I sent you any videos or showed you what any of that stuff looked like.
You
but
showed me a
I
little bit.
can.
You did. You showed me some pictures.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to see, like, I don't think you've shown me a fully packed
Yeah. I'll send you some videos.
height of DZ Fest video or pictures.
I'll send you photos, pictures.
That'd be cool to see.
It's just bizarre. And yeah, I hope to get it going. I hope to have the fest again in the city of Chicago, maybe next year or the year after. When I do, you'll definitely be invited. You and your
Shoot me an
family,
invite, please.
I definitely will.
And then also, I want to have you on my podcast.
Yes,
I'd love to establish a connection, and then also,
Yeah.
I think I know I love music. I have an appreciation for music for sure, but and especially like I do dabble in like everything. Like there's not like one genre. I'd say the only genre I hate, honestly, I can't do is like absolute screamo heavy metal. Like I just don't get it.
It's like death metal?
Yeah, like death
Screamo?
metal,
Okay.
super loud.
Yeah.
You can't discern anything that's, for me, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm a layman, so like it doesn't work for me for whatever reason. But otherwise, I like pretty much everything. I like even Middle Eastern music and stuff. So
Yeah.
if you ever have a connection that you think would be cool from like a Middle Eastern, North African, any kind
Yeah.
of like more interesting, crossover type of music.
Absolutely.
You know,
a lot of.
It'd be cool to get someone on the podcast or have you with them on if
Yeah.
they're visiting or something like that.
I know a lot of North African individuals and people from like, Ethiopia and Yemen, Oman, Saudi Arabia, like
Yeah.
that whole region. A lot of people.
If you
not
have,
just
like-
from like growing up around here, but just a lot of musicians and artists I've made friends with now, are from Algeria, Morocco.
Yeah, like I'd
Libya,
love to. Like
things like
I've
that.
never had a chance to like meet someone from those countries who's actually a musician.
Okay.
I've met people, had friends and stuff, but to have like a musician or someone like that
Yeah.
who's got some cool, take on traditional music, but now is maybe trying to bring it back or make it modern or something.
Sure.
That'd be neat.
Absolutely.
And to also like kind of introduce it a little bit to
Yeah.
some of my viewers.
Yeah, and then just throw some music your way because
Yeah.
I've worked with and listened to everyone, and just a couple weeks ago hit 2,000 live video sessions recorded with bands in 12 years, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wow, I did this 2,000 times, just that, not including albums and podcasts and the concerts and the shows. So, yeah, it's extensive. So if someone's ever looking for a band or recommendation or a concert to check out, I could pass you an endless amount. If you're just like, I want to learn more about, you got any jazz bands I should check out? Like, I could send hundreds of jazz bands for you to check out. Or if you and your wife are ever looking to go check out like a concert, have the kids stay home and you want to go check out something in Chicago, I could totally recommend the spectrum of everything ever from like a low-key dive jazz bar that's like cash only to a beautiful world music, Middle Eastern music, celebration of like Muslim music at venues. I know a lot about those places. Like they're all different kinds of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Sound art. It could be rock and roll. It could be hip hop. I mean, it could be local. It could be anything like that. So happy to send you, because you're not as familiar with all those venues in Chicago.
Right,
You didn't
right.
grow up here.
Yeah.
But I know them all, been to all of them. So
That'd be awesome,
yeah,
man.
thank you for having me back
No,
at my old
thank
house.
you.
It's
Thank
kind
you
of
for doing this.
overwhelming, and I'm just like looking around like, this is crazy. It just brings back memories.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it, and I also respect obviously your childhood connection to the place.
Thank you.
So if you ever, I've said that before, but I'll say it on record. If you ever want to stop by and see things, reminisce,
Yeah.
visit, whatever, just hit me up, and you're more than welcome.
Thank you. If you ever want to have a big bonfire but not get a ticket, just have me there. I guarantee you won't get in trouble.
I'll have to do
in
that.
fact, they'll show up and be like, Ben?
Where have you been?
Ben's here?
Yeah.
Guys, make the fire bigger. Is the fest happening again? So many times the police would be like, man, we love your fest. We wish we can go, but our lieutenant always makes us work the night of it because it's such a busy. You add so much to the streets that we actually have to have like overtime because of your event.
That's funny.
So they couldn't go. And if you want to get away with more, I got to be back here again.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is amazing. I love what you did with the place. It's so similar to what I once had, and it's a good yard. It's a good area, great block, great neighbors, and I'm glad I went to a good person with a good family.
Oh, thank you, man.
And thank you for this. This was great. Fun talking with you. I had no idea where it was going to go, but you have amazing perspectives, very wise. I can tell you've lived a lot. You've done a lot in 39 years.
Yeah. Don't remind me. 40's approaching. It's like, man.
Hey, you feel young at spirit to me.
Yeah,
I would not.
I
You
do.
remind me of my brother. He's a 38. So, thank you for having me here.
You're very welcome.
And
it's my pleasure.
Yeah, check out everyone listening. Check out Harlem Lights. It's
You
just
can
Harlem.
drop it in the description, right? You
Yes,
can
I
put some
can.
links or whatever.
Yeah, definitely
So
can.
people can find it.
Okay.
And I also have a connection to Mighty Halal,
Mighty
fried
Halal.
chicken and shawarma place.
Ooh.
So if you're ever in the area, I go check out our reviews. They're insane. Okay, it's 4.8 right now.
Yeah.
It's been open for over a year. It's pretty solid for Chicagoland to
Yeah.
have a solid 4.8 review. We were 4.9 and 5 for a long time. I'm going to tell you something. The couple complaints you get on the Google page, trust me, they're like, we're sitting there pulling our hair out going, how could someone possibly have been upset at us? We try our best to be so amazing and amazing customer service. And, we're kind of those people where it's like, we want it to be the absolute best chicken, best food, best experience possible.
Is it your restaurant? Or?
I'm connected to it through family.
Oh, okay. Where's it at?
It's over on 111th in Worth.
Okay.
It's called Mighty Halal.
111th and what?
111th in Harlem.
Harlem. Okay.
Yeah, so right off of Harlem on 111th in Worth.
That street light at rush hour is hell.
Yeah, it is. It's annoying.
Oh yeah.
Very annoying.
I haven't been to that intersection in 10 years just because of that street light. I know exactly where it's at.
Yeah.
Underneath the 294 bridge.
Yep.
Terrible street light.
Under the bridge. I didn't
I
even,
know
I didn't
this
even think
area
of that as being
better than-
294 bridge.
What's up?
I didn't even think of that as being the 294 bridge.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, now like, oh yeah, that is 294.
I have a strange understanding of this area on a level that is unbelievably nerdy. Let's just say if you want to know about this area, you don't need ChatGPT, you just need me.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you
I can
everything
tell.
about it. Even the geology. I'll tell you about the thousands of years of how it created all this with the glaciers. The whole thing. Anyway, thank you again, Omar, for this.
You're very
It was
welcome.
Amazing. I apologize for the lawnmowers and the yapping dogs, but
It's
it'll
all
sound
good.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, thank you all for listening. Check out Omar's podcast. Check out the restaurant on 111th in Harlem.
Yeah.
What was the name again?
Mighty Halal.
Mighty
really,
Halal.
really good shawarma, but excellent Middle Eastern inspired fried chicken.
Oh,
It's really good.
That sounds great.
Yeah,
I'll
give it a
check
try.
out. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Ciao.
Take care.